Yo, what's happening? Hey, we are here tonight. People came here from their homes. They disrupted whatever they had going to listen in, especially the ones at home and the ones here. So we grateful to have everybody tuning in. You know, God willing, we can add some value for you tonight. We got another fire class tonight. Not a lot more game, expanded on last week's class. And the intention is that we gain some more knowledge and wisdom to help advance everyone's businesses and lives. That's why we're here. So we're going to get to it. The title of tonight's class is Compounding Continued. That's one of the wonders of the world, whether it's true or not. But I want to touch on a couple of things. Wisdom is not trendy. So every generation, there's surface level knowledge, there's right under the surface, and there's deep wisdom. Most of the time, deep wisdom doesn't change. It stays the same. Throughout whatever generation, it lasts thousands of years a lot of times. And we kind of know what deep wisdom is, right? Love your neighbor as yourself is like an example. Deep wisdom. Treat others how you want to be treated. It's deep wisdom. That's been here for thousands. It's going to be here way after we gone. Deep wisdom. Don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Like all of those things are fundamental wisdom axioms that pass through. What I want us to think about is not getting caught up in the surface level pop shit. What that means is there's always somebody trying to put a spin on something new to take your money. Or create something new to take your money. And if you pay this amount, then I'll give you the secrets of this. More times than not, you just getting gamed up and get your money took. Our generation now, we're switching it up and we're saying the game is to be sold. To be told. We're giving the game. Give the game. Most people who've been successful in life, who've achieved a mass amount of success, as they get closer to dying, they know they can't take their wisdom with them. So they would love to give it to somebody. They love to give it to somebody. So a lot of the times, let me back up. There's a lot of things that you can buy online from people who are selling game programs, ways to make money, ways to make things easier for you. Let me just wrap this up in a small little package for you. You don't got to do no work. More times than not, you just got your money took. And so just that's my feedback from the week. I usually just speak on a couple of things from the week, and I got a couple situations where people were like, man, I went to this thing and they said that, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And you got to take that with a grain of salt. Now, I've done a lot of seminars. I've spent a lot of bread in my pursuit of entrepreneurship, and I've went down that road hella times and spent hella money, and most of it was bullshit. There are some things that I did learn because it was like, damn it, I'm gonna make sure I learn something. All this money I spent. But I just want us to understand. Let's not move with a sense of caution in those particular scenarios. Just move with a sense of caution. All right, let's get started. Recap.
you reading?
I'll read this one.
Yeah.
You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So do not forget this. Systems thinking. As an entrepreneur, when you're building a business, if you're building anything, you're building systems. We do not want to control people. We want to control systems, and the systems create boxes for people. But you create the systems. So anytime you're building something, if you're creating a recipe for something, you have to think about the systems. How long does it take for me to walk from here to the refrigerator, to open it, to grab what I need to grab, pull it out? Like, you're always thinking of ways to improve, tweak, advance, replace your systems. You're a systems thinker. If you don't think in terms of systems, you're going to be that entrepreneur 30 years from now, still stuck in your business. Who's gone to the Oakland Coliseum Flea Market? That's my shit. I grew up there, right? What's the difference between somebody who sells products at the Coliseum Flea Market and someone who sells similar products in a retail store?
Systems.
Systems. The only thing. That's how important systems are. I love the flea market. I don't buy stuff there no more, but I go sometimes just to feel the energy. But the difference between someone who's selling fruit at the flea market or vintage clothing on a blanket at the flea market and someone who has a store in Berkeley and 14 other stores selling vintage clothing, the only difference is systems. Well, not the only difference, but the major difference is systems. That's why it's so important. I'm working on some acquisitions. So I went to a business that's similar to mine, and I said, "Hey, man, you like, why don't you retire and let us buy your business?" And he said, I'm getting up in age. I'm getting in my 70s, and actually I had a major health issue. I almost died a little while ago, so I'm dying. So I'm looking for an exit strategy. I said, "Well, look, I'm here. Let me write you a check." And he said, the thing that prevents me from letting it go is because I've built this business by being here 7 days a week. My dad owned this business, and he was here 7 days a week, and he passed it to me, and he said, "If you want this business, you have to be committed to being here 7 days a week."
Oh, God.
So can I trust you that you're going to be here 7 days a week, or it's going to fall apart? I said, "Man, I don't move like that. We going to build systems in this business that we don't have to be here 7 days a week." And he said, "See, that's where I have a problem. I want somebody who's committed to being here 7 days a week." Because a lot of times we confuse 7 days a week with hard work and determination and entrepreneurial spirit and hustle, not realizing that that's the dumbest shit ever.
Amen.
Crazy.
And so even though my heart went out, I can't do that. That's not, and that's also why the business is stuck where it was stuck. And so systems thinking is our way out. Systems thinking, building everything in systems is our way out. Anybody watch that documentary about what's his name, the guy who put together the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC? So it was one man who put together both bands. Think about that. One person put together two multi-platinum selling bands. One, you know what his reasoning was? What I did was revolutionary. So anytime you build something revolutionary like a Coke, you know a Pepsi's coming. He says that all the time. Nana says, you build something, you know they coming. So he said, if you build a Coke, you know Pepsi's coming. Or you build a Microsoft, Apple's coming. The number two is always coming. He said, I might as well build the number two too. And he did. Backstreet Boys was over in Germany doing their thing and building their fan base. He built another one. Justin Timberlake at the helm. You know how he did it? Systems. Systems. I got a black dude who's going to teach him rhythm, how to dance. I got a black dude who's going to teach him this. I got a black dude who's going to teach him that. So then they just move through the assembly line and learn the tools. Systems. Systems. If you don't think in systems, then you stuck at the flea market, so to speak. Next slide.
System 1 and System 2 thinking.
So remember, this is more recap. Remember, System 1 is our quick. System 1 is somebody's in your face talking to you and they got bad breath and you go, but you're playing it off because they're an important person. You go back to regular face. That's that nasty quick face you made, System 1. Damn it. And you're like, damn it. System 2 thinking is a calculated. So as we know, it's easy to understand where we want to be. And we have to create tools in place that can hold everything back for us to go back and consult with our System 2. Mm-hmm. We're taught a lot growing up that it's cool to flash, it's cool to smash on people, it's cool to do all these things that are spur of the moment emotional responses. But entrepreneurship, gotta converse with your System 2. You gotta go back to System 2. So these two tools is what the tools we'll be using every day for the rest of our life. We're practicing working through these tools every day for the rest of our life. Systems thinking and understanding that our System 1 and System 2 are operating at all times. And this is why it blends so well with the emotional agility book, because the emotional agility part is teaching us how to manage and maneuver within our System 1. Next slide.
Grit versus quit. If you're going through something, keep going.
Okay, remember we talked about if you're going through something, keep going. If you're going through a storm, if you're walking and you feel a couple little drops, and as you keep walking straight, drops get more intense, and now you start hearing thunder and lightning, and the rain is heavy. Your System 1 majority of the time will tell you to do what? Turn around and go back the other way. Right? What if the storm is coming this way? You think it's following you. I just can't do nothing. Life is bad. It's because the goal is storms don't cover the earth. You got to keep going. And you got to be asking in that time, what can I learn from this? How can I get better? How can I grow? How can I advance? What's going on? How did I get here? Those are the questions you're always asking. What can I learn from this? Because anytime you feel friction is time, I call friction lesson time. It's time to learn. Friction is time to learn. So grit means I got to bear down and get through something that's challenging, that's tough, that doesn't feel good. It's not smooth. It's not smooth. I had a one-on-one with one of my employees today, and he was like, I just don't believe that people have to feel pressure. I'm like, give me an example. Give me one. I'll give you a raise. Because pressure is the cornerstone of our existence. So that means grit is necessary for us. Next.
Grit is a commitment to the process.
So grit is commitment to the process, which means your grit happens before any other tension happens. Your decision making to have grit happens before any fuckery, any bullshit, anything happens. You already committed to the process. So if you're in a relationship and the honeymoon phase is over, and then now y'all bickering or having problems or having some tension or having some issues, grit says, I've already committed to this. What can I do to learn? How can I make this work? What can I do to overcome this phase that we're in? Where's the learning for me? That's what grit is. But you already committed. Entrepreneurship, the same thing. You committed to it. It's the life we chose. This is the life we chose. So grit allows you to bear through it. And as you're bearing through it, you're learning. You're holding that 10 toes down. You're holding down what you committed to do. So if you're a fight, flight, or freeze, right? If you're a flight type of person, more than likely, anytime shit gets tough, you run. I'm out. Pew, gone. This don't feel. I don't want to talk about it no more. Are there any? I don't want to talk about it anymore. Is here? Kaja. Listen, I'm done. You ever been backed in a corner where you ain't got no more tools and you realize you about to get caught? I'm done. I don't want to talk about it no more. That's that running, right? We can't keep running. Grit says, let's have this tough conversation. We're going to talk through it. Whatever it is, we're going to talk through it. And that starts with practicing every situation. Let's have it. Have you ever had a who is so-and-so conversation? Ooh, shit. Let's have this conversation. Them the hard ones, them tough. But what kind of commitment do you have to the process? You get bad feedback on your product. Do you run from the bad feedback from your product? Well, it's this customer just wasn't that's not my customer. Like you ain't. See, that's why I don't even go. No, let's talk about it. I want to have a conversation with you and understand where you're coming from. That's what grit, that's part of what grit does. What's next?
Times get tough when they are supposed to get tough.
Come on. Times get tough when they're supposed to. There's no world that exists that times will not get tough at some point. Just that's the world we're in. That's what makes this life beautiful. That's what makes you appreciate the beautiful parts of life. Man, when I had COVID, I was in bed for 2 weeks, fucking miserable, right? But then it makes you appreciate when you up. Oh man, this world, I get to get out of here. Like shit is negative now. Like the trees are greener than they was before, and like people are more beautiful because you get to appreciate life. You get to appreciate. But you don't appreciate a lot of times until it feels tough, feels rough. Life's supposed to be that. So if we move with the understanding that life is supposed to at times get tough, then when it happens, you're not woe is me. God, why is it? You're not, woe is me. You're like, oh, I guess this is one of those times, huh? Let's do it. Let's figure it out. What's next?
What are you asking God for? The removal or the strength?
Again, go with the strength. Go with the strength. Some of us right now are in positions that they prayed for 5, 10 years ago. Some of y'all are. You're in positions that you prayed for. And then when it gets tough in those positions, now you want it to be taken away? No. Nana talked about something dope a long time ago where he was saying a lot of times we want the car or we want the house, but we don't want the maintenance package that comes with it. So when you ask for something, you also have to look at what the maintenance package is from start to finish. What does that entail? I want a Lamborghini. Why? Because I want a Lamborghini. Okay. What does the maintenance package of a Lamborghini entail? And parking it in your front of your house, is that feasible? Is that smart? You would have to get a whole new neighborhood to house that Lamborghini. And what's the monthly? What's the oil changes look like? Let's add that up and do it. Let's do some math on that. We don't think about that. We just want the Lamborghini. So you want to understand what the maintenance package is on your dreams too. Work backwards from the maintenance package on your dreams. I want to be a multimillionaire. Well, how does a multimillionaire move? What's included in what multimillionaires do on a daily basis? What's the responsibility of a multimillionaire? What's the stress level of a multimillionaire? And then then you can determine whether or not you up for that goal, because you're going to have the grit to make it happen. Some people want a husband but don't want to be married. Some people want a wedding but don't want a wife. And when the wedding's over, it's like, oh, shit, I got to do this every day? That's how some kids get into this world. The kids are so cute. The babies are so adorable. But then they don't want to raise that little motherfucker. Like, no, I don't want you have to deal with you every day. No, because we don't think about the maintenance portion of it. We don't think about the maintenance portion of everything. So when you get into tough situations, then you want to ask God to remove it. No, this is part of the maintenance package. You asked for this. You want it black on black. And so, yes, it gets dusty easy and it looks dirty fast. You asked for the color. Did you do some research on whether or not the color fades? You should have asked for white. Oh, I didn't do the research. That's your fault. Be smart about how you ask for these goals. Or in situations where it does get tough, before you break down, you ask, is this part of the game or is this a one-off? Is this part of the game? Let me ask somebody, hey, have you? Yeah, that's normal. Oh, shit. It's normal? Yeah, it's normal. That happens like once a month. Oh. That's a huge one. I forget what group of entrepreneurs I was hanging around, but somebody came and said, I've been an entrepreneur and I lost businesses and I lost money, and he paused like we was gonna be like, oh, for real? We look at him like, and what? Like, that's join the club. Join the club. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's if you ain't lost a business, you ain't seasoned enough. And then his eyes lit up like, oh, so I'm not a failure? Like, what? I feel good now, because that's part of the maintenance package of this journey most of the time. So this is a key one. This is an important one. You go to the gym. I did it. because I used to, man, I'm injured in the gym. Man, if you don't still take your ass to the gym, injuries are part of working out. Yep. Just work around that shit. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. That's true? Yeah. That's why community and network is so powerful. But what's the maintenance package on your dream? I wanted to, I'm scaling. I wanted to scale. God, this shit, boy, shit.
Congratulations.
Man, come on. But I have to go back to this all the time. Like, all right, I asked for it. This is what I wanted. I need to get stronger. So this tension, this friction right now is because I got to get better. Not because of anything else that got to change out there. There's always going to be that situation. Always going to be those situations. I got to get better. So what's the maintenance package in your dream? Next slide.
Emotional agility can help one develop grit since it allows us to unhook from difficult emotions and thoughts, manage setbacks, and identify our values so we move toward a long-term goal worth pursuing. But it also allows us to let go of those goals once they no longer serve us. But emotional agility leaves room for the considered decision to quit something that is no longer helping you. And that can be a very good thing. How many lives have been wasted by sons doggedly following in their father's footsteps and pursuing a father's dream, even though those footsteps and dreams led in directions that held no instinct appeal to the dutiful son?
Got it. So, we talked about diminishing returns. Now I talked about diminishing returns. So where at a certain point, things can work super well for you and doing the same thing can go bad. So that's the same, think of that same bell curve with grit, okay? So that same bell curve is with grit. Mm-hmm. So once you develop grit, there's a certain peak where if you have the peak amount of grit, you're a boss. But too much grit starts giving you diminishing returns. Why? Because there are no absolutes. Everything has a sweet spot window. Everything. Because there are no absolutes. So there are a certain point in time where if you're too locked into a decision and if it's not serving you, it will damage you. It can hurt you. It can damage you, it can hurt you, and it can give you diminishing returns. And you'll be thinking, I have so much grit. What's going on? And that's with anything. That's with the gym too. You want to work out 7 days a week, you like 5 is good, 7 is better. Diminishing returns. Diminishing returns. So same thing with grit. Because there are some things that you got to let go. You got to let go. And you got to know when the sweet spot is to have grit or to understand what's not serving you and let it go. And if you are a flighter, then you will use that as an excuse to run. Well, you said in help class, if it's not serving you, it's not serving me, let it go. No. You only stood 10 toes down for 15 minutes. That don't count. It's an art to understand the sweet spot of the window. It's an art. So diminishing returns can create it can make you go overboard in one. So you have to understand where the balance is. Did we read the second paragraph? Oh yeah. So then the example that it gave was powerful. That's why we kept it in there. And a lot of us are pursuing dreams that we didn't even dream based on someone else that we respected highly, and we're trying to follow in their trail, and they may not even be here no more. Or we may be looking for approval for them or respect or love from them that we'll never get. I see it all the time in my world. Father wants his son to make it to the NBA because he didn't make it. So that boy is practicing. He in the gym practicing for the third hour of the night, looking up as like, somebody save me. Please save me. I want to play video games, or I'm interested in how the heart works. But the father like, fuck that, you playing. And how many years is it going to be? I did it with my son. We hoopers in this family. My son is the most creative kid. He's like Pharrell. My oldest son's like Pharrell, straight up. Same spirit, energy, creativity. He hooping, practicing. 7th grade, he like, hey, I'm done. I don't want to do this shit no more. Sorry. I don't like basketball. I like Illustrator and Photoshop. I said, word? All right. Like, I get it. Cool. All right. Thank God he did that. There's a lot that don't. And so sometimes grit can put us in those situations where we're living a full whole life for somebody else. And you'll be in situations where you ain't happy, and you may have the success of the thing and you ain't even happy. Next slide.
If you are faced with a grit or quit decision, here are some things to ask yourself. Overall, do I find joy or satisfaction in what I am doing?
Okay, that's from the book. Number 1, am I finding joy or satisfaction in what I'm doing? Next one.
Does this reflect what is important to me and my values?
Mm-hmm.
Does this draw on my strengths? If I'm completely honest with myself, do I believe that I or this situation can really be a success? What opportunities will I give up if I persevere with this? And am I being gritty or am I being stupid?
So the diminishing returns part is the stupid part. The reason why is this. What's our most valuable asset?
Time.
Time. How many years are you going to be spending doing some shit that you know is stupid? How many years? I'm 1 year about to be in the 5. This is my last year in the 4s, right? How many years would I want to spend doing something unnecessary? Time is our most valuable asset. So you have to ask yourself those questions in a relationship that's not serving you. Well, in my household, we don't get a divorce. We don't break up. I'm not trying to get in any kind of religious conversations with y'all, but that's a conversation you need to have. Am I being gritty or am I being stupid? Am I going through a phase? Are we going through a storm? Or is this toxic? Is this destructive? Is this killing me? Are my values in complete and total disagreement with this situation? That's how you know. That means it's not going to change ever. It's not going to change ever. So 10 years from now, we're going to be in the same place. That's why this is such a deep question. That's why I wanted to include this slide, because this is your how-to understand whether or not it's grit or quit. Does this draw on my strengths? And you have to ask yourself those questions in order for you to understand. And these are tough, because most of the time it involves something that's pretty big in your life. Job decision. Should I quit my job or stay? Entrepreneurial decisions, relationship decisions. These are big ones. So your system 2 has to be the dominating force in these decisions. Your system 2. Really evaluate. Really troubleshoot. Because if you're system 1, then you will find yourself making horrible decisions, justifying it. I thought about it. No. Like, understand your system 2 have to be activated, and you have to really be honest with yourself. Now, do I find joy overall? This is why this first question is a tough one. Seems simple, but it's not. Do I find joy or satisfaction in what I'm doing? If, say you don't find that much joy or that much satisfaction in what you're doing, is that reason to quit? Let's talk about it. Somebody want to talk about it? Sure.
I don't think so.
Hit that button, I think. Yeah.
Oh, did you turn it on?
Check.
I do know how to use a mic. Thank you. Just because I don't find joy or satisfaction in the surface experience or the momentary experience is not a reason to quit. Mm-hmm. I believe that if I get joy and satisfaction about what the end goal is, then the pain that I'm enduring in the process is just the storm. It's just the thing that's going to pass until, I hit the next storm. But the end goal gives me great joy and satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Now, what you're describing is a different class of experience. So we talked about this before, but let's write this down. You have a class 1 experience. A class 1 experience means it feels good. It's good for you, and it serves the greater good. It's class 1. That's like hitting a home run in life. Like if what you do feels good while you're doing it, it's good for you, and it serves the greater good, like that's incredible. Mm-hmm. You get to experience that. Class 2 experience is it doesn't feel good, but it's good for you, and it serves the greater good. Mm-hmm. So what she's describing is a class 2 experience. Class 3 experience is it feels good, but it ain't good for you, and it don't serve the greater good.
Atlanta.
Right. Magic City. Class 4, I don't know why anybody would, but it don't feel good. It's not good for you, and it doesn't serve the greater good. I don't know why anybody would hang out there. Most of us hang out in class 3 experiences or class 2 experiences. So having a child, you're swimming in class 2 because you love this kid and you want to see the best of this kid and it grow up to be the best version that it can be. So you have to do things that don't feel good in the moment all the time, every day. All the time, every day. But it's class 2. So business is the same way. I'm an artist. I'm an artist by nature. That's what I do. That's what flows through me. I spend 10% of my time doing art in my business. The other 90, most of it don't feel good at all. It don't feel good. Like one-on-one with a person who's about to cry, like having to look at all these reports and come up with strategy and numbers. And that's not the funnest thing. The kid in me wants to go draw some pictures or bust a rap. So, but the greater good says, This is going to feel good later. This is absolutely great for the greater good because of what we're building. So remember those 4 classes of experiences. That's how you navigate through life. That's how you see things. Now, sometimes, man, you have a dream job and you it's almost like you're in heaven every day. And it's good for you and it serves a greater good. Man, you're blessed. That's amazing. You're still blessed with class 2. But we're not there every day. Sometimes you'll hit a pocket and you're like, man, this is amazing. Shakina.
That just made me think about how easy it can be to put a glass ceiling on yourself when you start something out of passion. Because, and I've like personally found myself where I love what I do. And I dread the day that I have to step away from my business for control reasons, but also too just because of the purpose that it gives me when I go in and I get to help people. So I've been able to reflect in hindsight, oh wow, there were all these opportunities that I didn't take because I love so much being in the day-to-day that I'm keeping myself in that space of like, let's just stay this big so I can keep this happy dopamine, serotonin, all the good feels. I'm doing something that's impactful. I love what I do, but I can also see in the long haul, in the end, I'm hindering myself because I want to stay in that sweet spot. And I'm uncomfortable with taking on those stormy waters. And so it just made me like think about how oftentimes we can put ourselves in positions where it doesn't feel bad, but we're also like the anchor that's stopping our boats from being able to take off. And yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. There's a lot of businesses, relationships, people like that. And they'll justify it by, I don't want to be that big. I just like, yo,
It's common.
be careful. Because when that storm comes, you're either growing or you're dying. So understand that if you're playing the dopamine game, the feel good game, in exchange for growth, be dangerous. Because there's a saying, I don't know what scripture it is, but shit happens.
So you be good to my philosopher.
I can't have this mic.
Yeah, Leroy 316. Yes. So those are the times where you need to expand out to understand how to pivot and put yourself in situations where you can generate more revenue. And that's when we play it safe. That's where it's dangerous for us. We've done it a lot. A lot of us has done it. So that was a great analogy. Next slide.
How do we lead by example in business and at home?
Okay. Now, we leaders in here, right? We leaders in this building. So as a leader, you got to understand people are always watching you.
Always.
Your moves, your movements, the decision you make, when you break down, when you're strong, the things you say, the little things you say, the big things you say. When you think they're not watching, when they're watching. As a leader, people are always watching. I don't care what comes up in the next generation, AI, robots, all that shit. You want to keep a job or stay in position or not go broke, be a leader. Because the world is in a deficit of leaders. Because that job not a lot of people want. You know why they don't want it? Is because you have to show up in class 2 situations all the time. Employees can be in class 1. I'm only taking this job because it feels good to me. And it's like in line with my purpose and I've, only doing this job. Cool. As an employee, you can get away with that. You can, if this ain't cool, you can hop because there's positions for you in the world in as an employee. There are. I love what I do. So if you are stuck in the I love what I do and I'm only going to do what I love, then you're stuck in employee. You're stuck as an employee. Because leaders do shit that they don't want to do. They show up when they don't want to show up. They stay when they want to go home. Leaders wipe their motherfucking tears off in the car and go walk in the building with their chest out and make it happen. They go back in the car and scream like a mother. They scream and then they go back and they handle it. They cuss the person out to themselves and then get on the phone and have a professional conversation. That's what leaders do. They want to stay in bed because they had a long. No, they go and make it happen. They go research stuff that they don't have any kind of information on because they got a presentation or they have to explain something. Or like leadership is people ain't fighting to be leaders, but everybody want to be one. So as entrepreneurs and leaders in this space, we have to understand that we're being watched. We're being watched. And there's pressure, yes. There's pressure. Mm-hmm. So that means I can't cat off like I used to. Like, no matter where I show up in the town, I got to be a leader and show up that way. And because it's going to affect your business in ways where you don't even realize it. I told you about the story where my son was playing on AAU and being bullied, and he got into it on the sidelines. And I ran over there being a dad. I wasn't thinking about no Courtsmith. I wasn't thinking about my company. I'm being a dad right now. But I was overly aggressive. We'll just say that. And my sobering moment was when the director of the whole program said, "Wait, ain't you Courtsmith?" Oh, shit. And like I said, I've never generated revenue from that whole area. Not just him, his friends, his associates, anybody in that whole network that he's in the center of. I've never made $1. And that was 6 years ago. Because I was way out of pocket. Being watched. Being watched. So understand, same the way our kids are watching us and how we move and the decisions that we make and what we do on a daily basis, all the micro things, the macro things, so is everybody else. When you are posting stuff on Instagram and all on your social media platform, people ain't just watching to do this. They're also watching to dissect what's wrong. Man, them outfit ain't matching, or that ain't that. Like, you open yourself up to scrutiny and you for it because you made that decision to do it. But you got to understand, as a leader, you got to hold it down. And that's not an easy task, but we chose it. Next slide.
Emotional agility is the absence of pretense in performance.
Okay, time out. This is a big one. Because we are brought up in this era, fake it till you make it. We brought up in this era of finessing people into think certain things. Having emotional agility is counterintuitive to our biological nature, just as building a business. It's counterintuitive. We come from a respect culture. Remember that. Our culture is a respect culture. Respect is a dominating force in our culture. So anything that gets close to being deemed disrespectful, that's where the rules are. You get your hand slapped. You don't be disrespectful. That's our currency. Respect is our currency. So with respect as our currency, there's a lot of room for people to make up their own personalities, to make shit up, to create characters within themselves, to posture to other people so that they can gain respect. If I got
Come on, bro.
$1,700 to my fucking name, then I'm gonna use that $1,700 to buy a $1,700 outfit. So when I step out, everybody like, oh shit, who is that? That dopamine hit you get from that locks you in to do it over and over and over and over again. When the dude you roasting with a Kirkland outfit with a Costco jeans, who you push past because he's not cool looking enough, that person is getting rich right next to you. Right next to you. So we have to understand pretense comes from posturing, like I'm doing big things, like I'm, or if somebody's coming at you, say somebody's coming at you sideways. Posturing and pretense says, how can I get to the currency of respect? That's the question you ask. How can I get to the currency of respect? Because my culture, our main currency is respect. So you just came at me sideways. I have to get to the currency of respect. So I got to do what I need to do to make sure that my currency is strong. People are watching. I'm black. So if I say, hey, you got it, it's all good. That's the corniest shit that you could say as a black person. My bad, bro. You got it. That's the corniest shit you can say because I cashed out $0 in respect, and that's not my culture.
Wow.
Shit is, it's crazy. Now, here's the thing about that currency. Earlier I said, why would anybody spend time in class 4 shit? Don't feel good. Not good for me. Doesn't serve the greater good. Guess what we do? We live in that motherfucker. We live in class 4 experience because our payoff is respect. Don't feel good to engage in violence with you. It's not good for me, and it doesn't serve the greater good. Damn. That's crazy. You can get a society to do the dumbest shit with good marketing. With good marketing, you can get a society to do anything. I was reading in a book, I forget the name of it, but in Hawaii, a Hawaiian princess committed suicide 1 year. And suicide rates in that that island went up like 70%. 70-something%. Because we can get a society to do anything with strong enough marketing. So emotional agility detaches us from all that bullshit. Cultural norms, societal norms, our principles, understanding what the currency is in each culture. You step in another culture, their currency is money. I don't give a fuck about being, you can say, you're the ugliest motherfucker I've ever seen, your mom's ugly too. And they'll look at you like, I'm still rich, so what? Because they operate in a different currency. Ours, man, what you say about my mama? Them fighting words. Others cultures' currency is loyalty. I don't like money's good, but loyalty is most important. So if there's 10 workers on a job and the boss decides not to pay one worker, all 10 of them never met, but they all walking off the job. Different currency. Shit, I don't know that motherfucker. I need to eat. Shit. I gotta pay my bills. Sorry it didn't work out for you. Because we operate, it's different currency. It's different currency. So emotional agility says, what is my goal? And what's the best way to operate? What's the best way for me to operate in order to get there? What is my goal? What's the best movement? I used to have this crazy road rage when I was younger, early 30s, late 20s, bad road rage. What does this benefit me? What does it benefit me? So what? People are more bolder when they in their car. So what? The goal is for me to get where I want to go and for them to get where they want to go. Emotional agility says, I don't care. You just honked at me for no fucking reason. All right. Old currency says, what? I didn't do nothing. You need your ass whooped for honking at me for no reason. Because that's old currency. Emotional agility says there's no pretense. There's no performance. I'm who I am. I'm here. I'm my authentic self to you. Next slide.
And before
Still
you go,
have to-
can I jump in and just say something real quick? Oh, you didn't finish this slide.
Oh, sorry.
Let me say something real quick. Two things. One, this is really dope because I think I had a conversation with Shakina and I was like, yo, you know how when you're in the hood and everybody's playing roles to be thugs or gangsters? People don't realize when you get to middle class, people still playing roles. Right. Everybody's put on these costumes, but when you look at their bank account, it doesn't match the roles they're playing, right? And at the heart of a lot of this stuff is people don't feel like they're good enough. I'm summarize this as fast as possible. So when black people who've been suppressed over all these years, we've really brought this idea we're not good enough. And everybody's playing we're not good enough game. So whether I dress up like this, be this person, whatever, all these images we're rolling out. So then your argument, which is hella tight, which is what you started with, when I don't want folks to miss what you've been saying, that what you're advocating for is internal strength, right? And the way you gain internal strength is how you face challenges and grit. So for example, let's say somebody in this room trains all the time. Let's say Shakina trains all the time. And somebody walked in this room and say, one of y'all hella fat. She'd be like, who's he talking about? But she would think about herself, right? Now, if she wasn't taking care of herself, she might say, that's fucked up. Or she might say, get him out the room or whatever, right? Why is her confidence different? Because of her investment. So a lot of us are suffering because of our lack of an investment. And that investment means that we have to run into the storm and keep going. I'm out.
Powerful. Powerful. You can finish reading this. Yeah. Go back one slide.
It gives your actions greater power because they emanate from your core values and your core strength.
See, bang.
Something solid, genuine, and real. We reach that level of real, the level of emotional agility, not through magic, but through a series of tiny steps and everyday moments over the course of a lifetime.
Bang. So now we're talking about self-love, self-acceptance, and high self-value. So self-acceptance, self-love, and high self-value, it creates the relativity you need to have emotional agility in situations with other adults. So let's look at this analogy. If a 72-year-old white man walked up to you and said, your face is black, how would you feel? And he was rich too. How would you feel? Would it make you feel some type of way? Yeah? Some of us say yeah. Now, let's switch it. Say a 3-year-old little white girl walked up to you and said, your face is black. What would you do? You laugh. The same words. Why? Internally, our value is way higher. So we didn't got a problem with you saying that shit. Because, yeah, she's a little girl whose kid is this? Oh, you so cute. Yes, my face. Like, you're in a different mode. But sometimes we hero worship certain groups. We place our value lower. So when they say shit, it hurts. It hurts. You hurt my feelings. They only hurt your feelings, or our feelings, is because we perceive our value as lower than theirs. Emotional agility says, if I've been working on myself this whole time and I continue to add value to myself, continue to love myself, I continue to accept myself, then over time, can't nobody fuck with my emotions like that. Yeah, it is, and I love that shit. My face is black, and I love that shit. Man, you missing out. You missing out.
You understand me?
When the beat drop, I got it. Bang, 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 bang. Like self-value, So that's the thing. Lack of emotional agility a lot of times is the relativity, the lack of perception, and the low self-value that we have for ourselves. So part of the work is, yes, reading the book and understanding how it works, but really what makes this shit dope for you is continue to raise your value. Continue to raise your value, your self-love, your self-acceptance, and your self-value to yourself. That's how you get there too. It makes it easier. It makes it easier. To where even if you feel it in your stomach, you said what? Process it better. By the time it comes out, you've already processed it through your system too, and now you have something powerful to say. It's not your lip ain't quivering, and you're not like who in here ramps up their fire. Like each word they get more confident, and by like the 16th word they screaming and yelling. There's some people who come out the gate screaming and yelling. Some people, it takes them, they got to build their confidence. But that means you got triggered, right? You got hit. You got hooked. And how you handle it from the hook depends on how emotional agile you are. But it also depends on how much value you have for yourself. I ain't tripping off. Like who's a multimillionaire and still crashes out? Not too many people. If you're a multimillionaire, can you imagine somebody crashing out, being a crash out, ready to risk it all, die over some dumb shit, and you got millions in your bank account? That changes, huh? Even 50 Cent was like, "Hey man, I ain't trying to fight nobody. I'm straight. I don't want no problems with nobody." Why? His value went up. 50 Cent, have you heard Get Rich or Die Trying? 50 Cent was coming for everybody. What do you say? I stomp a bone in your, he was saying everything. That's when he was 50 Cent that didn't have much. He had 50 Cent. So understand, once the value goes up, hey, no, I ain't trying to, let me get out of here. I'm going to leave early. I don't want no problems with you. It's good. Mm-hmm. Value. So even when our perceived value is low, we still can move with the maintenance package of somebody who's successful. Remember the maintenance package. So if we got goals, how does a person with a maintenance package of a multimillionaire move? It's good. You can have that. Damn, why I ain't even tripping? I ain't even tripping. Is that weakness or is that power? Mm-hmm. Is that weakness or is it power? Power. It's power. I watched a video of UFC champion got into a road rage situation with somebody, but the other person was road raging, like getting out the car, like, "Come on, I'll beat your ass" type of shit. So he videotaped himself because he thought it was funny. And he was like telling the dude, "Hey man, you don't want to do that, bro. I promise you. Please." He's like, "I want you to get home safe. I'm going to get home safe. I want you to get home safe, but it's not a good idea." And as he got close, he saw how fucked up his ear was. And he was like, oh, you got one of them ears. That's a telltale sign that it's a problem for me. So, like, when you have high self-value, meaning you know the value that you contain, it's easy to let stuff go. And that's the work. That's the work. Next.
Sorry, sneeze. A malleable sense of self is a cornerstone of emotional agility.
Bang.
People who have a growth mindset and who see themselves as agents in their own lives are more open to new experiences, more willing to take risk, more persistent, and more resilient in rebounding from failure.
So if I'm reading all these books and I'm changing, I'll lose myself. I'll lose myself. I'll lose who I am. Changing all this much. That's not, you got to understand. When you have a growth mindset and you have a strong sense of who you are, tweaking your personality, tweaking who you are over time is value. Think about where we were. Think about who you are now. Think about the reflection of what you have in your life. If that is not where you want it to be, then growth is necessary. It's absolutely necessary. So a lot of times we're scared to grow because we're playing defense on a version of ourselves that ain't even functional. Like, but you failing at hella shit. Well, I just like that one part of my personality, like that thing right there. I don't want to change that. So if I change this, it may change it all, including that. For real? So you willing to risk, you willing to not grow and become successful because you like this small piece of who you are. Crazy, but true. Emotional agility says, I am willing to divorce anything that does not serve me. I am willing to divorce anything that does not serve me. Greater good, that's not good for me or serve the greater good. The feeling good part is optional. But if it does not serve me or does not serve the greater good, I will divorce that shit in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. I'm not tied to none of this shit. Mm-hmm. People know court is woo-woo, but I don't know how many woo-woo motherfuckers are like me. Because if it don't work for me, I'm out. I burn some sage. For sure I'll burn some sage. Thanks. But if it doesn't work for me, I'm out. If it don't add value to me, I'm out. If somebody brings new knowledge that trumps what I believe in for so long, I'm out. Oh shit. I have a bag you could throw away right here. Gone. Like the strong growth phase version of me, like, I know. My ex-wife was like, what are we today? Are we a Buddhist today or are we a Christian? Like, which one? Where we at? What are you not eating today? Fuck, what do I need to throw away in the refrigerator? Because I'm reading books and changing and reading books. Okay, I'm not doing. What the fuck? All right, what are we doing today? What guru do you got coming over? What book you read? Because I'm after it. I'm trying. I'm going after it. And early on, it was like you read a book and it says do A, and then because this person has a PhD, then you read a book and another PhD says don't do A. So you're like, fuck. Well, I'm not. So you until you understand really how to read context, you hopping over doing everything, right? That's my mentality. I don't care. Like, it's not being a wishy-washy person. That's called having a growth mindset. That's all. It's a growth mindset. Well, I thought you was not no more. 10 years, like people who I ain't seen in 10 years is like, the fuck? Mm-hmm. Same here. Hit this. No, I don't smoke no more. The fuck? No. Court, you used to. I don't even speak that language no more. See what I'm saying? Like it's okay to be different versions of you. Grow and be different versions of you. It's good, actually. Come on, like I meet you and I've been knowing you for hella long and you the same person that you was 5 years ago? What? I thought time was our biggest commodity. Oh, man. I'm going to stop because I'm about to start rambling. Let's go next slide. Yeah.
In my Mary J. Blige voice, I just want to be happy.
All right. Can I get any audience participation? Can anybody in here define what happiness is for me? Let's.
I think it is a story, and it is.
Okay, wait, time out. I'm going to come to you last.
Okay.
I think it's agency.
Agency.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
That means the freedom to decide at a given point what it is at that point, because it's not a fixed point.
Freedom, okay. Agency / freedom. Who else? Anybody else?
To me, happiness is moments. It's not a continuum. It's those moments of when I'm with my friends and my family and we're sharing an experience. But that's not every day, all the time. So I try to string together as many of those moments as possible. Those moments create the happiness in my life. When I don't have those moments, I'm shut up in my room or doing things that don't bring me joy all the time because we just have to do them, is when I don't feel happy. But it's never a constant feeling. It's moments, and I just try to string together as many as possible.
Dope. Anybody else? Definition of happiness. So, who in here would consider themselves happy? 9 people in here. Okay, I need some more. It's 9 people who consider themselves happy, but 2 explanations of what happiness is. Man, there's the math ain't mathing. And then we go to you after.
I say for me, happiness is gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah, no matter how bad a day it is, I always find that if I just think about things to be grateful for, the list just gets longer and longer. And it's always outweighs, the problem. So it's almost like a cheat code that if I'm grateful, I can get to happiness or have those moments. Then it's like, oh shit, I still got more wins in the column,
Cool. So gratitude, stringing together joyful moments, freedom. Okay. Next.
Okay, thanks. I would say knowing yourself and loving loving who you are, even though sometimes it's not always loving the good and bad of who you are, where it's not always the good things, but still appreciating who you are and still wanting to grow and be malleable in that journey as well. But even at all points, still wanting to love yourself.
Self-love.
Similar to you, I would say for me it's contentment, just being content in whatever place I'm in. So I consider myself happy because I'm content where I am.
Contentment. Dope. So we got a good smorgasbord. Go ahead.
This is like a Buddhist definition of like happiness. So there's like 2 types of happiness. There's relative happiness and there's absolute. So relative happiness is like, you got the car that you always wanted, like, oh, you feel happy in that moment. But as we know, like months can go by and it's just a car at that point. But like absolute happiness is kind of like what you two were talking about, like finding happiness within yourself, gratitude, being happy within yourself, even when those moments aren't like the best. You can still find something in that moment to like care about within yourself, or things you can, be happy about. So.
Okay, good. Yabasua?
I just got to throw this in there real quick. The mathematician in me says, if we're looking at what happiness is and what's the opposite of happiness, right? If we look at the opposite of happiness, can you all agree it's like anger, upset, being mad, or something like that? It's something that on one spectrum, it's an identified as an emotion, and we try to avoid being on that side of the emotional spectrum. But also on the other side, if we're chasing happiness, it's like we're looking for this contentment, of being happy. And so as I'm listening to everybody, I'm also like really, I'm what's the word? I'm conflicted because I've never thought of myself as like I'm chasing happiness. It's like I'm chasing success, and I mean there are many moments where you're happy and you're laughing, or sad and mad, but it's all in that spectrum of just being an emotional person, right? But I've just never like, I'm listening, I'm just like, I don't think I've ever sat down. It's like, what makes me happy? So if you see that weird look on my face, it's like, I don't look for happiness. I don't know if that's
dope. That's beautiful. That's dope. Okay, let's go to this next slide, and then let's talk about it. A lot of us feel like their purpose in life is to be happy. And we're looking for happiness a lot. And our litmus test of whether or not we want to be in a situation or not, or go left or go right, a lot of times is dictated by whether or not we think we'll be happy in that moment. Or we think a person can make us happy, or a thing can make us happy, or a situation, or a dream job, or the person of my dreams can make us happy. What typically happens all the time is we realize that those things are fleeting and they don't make you happy. Even becoming a successful entrepreneur does not make you happy. Making millions of dollars does not make you happy. Now, it's better for sure. It's better. But happiness, let's read this slide and then we'll get it.
Can I say before I read what I thought happiness was to me?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think when I think of happiness, it's like a mindset, like a framing. And the thing that...
Oh, sorry for forgetting.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was writing notes. It's more so like the story that I'm telling myself, and the state of happiness is like a mindset of being able to accept the truth, because I think we get caught up on highlight reels of like good and bad. And for me, when I have found myself to be the happiest, it was being able to celebrate the wins and being able to appreciate the down times, because they are the whole picture, the good, the bad, the gray, black, and white, all made the happiness, because low times make high times feel great. So for me, it's a framing.
Good. So here's another general understanding, is that the definition of happiness is relative. Mm-hmm. Because there's seven different definitions of what happiness is, and none of them are wrong. Because they're what happiness is to you. To you, to you, to you, to you. So when something is relative and not absolute, then you have to go underneath, you have to go to the core of that to find what the core belief is, so that you have something to stand on. So let's read.
With all this, you might presume happiness ranks right up there with food and sunshine and its contribution to human well-being. But as our increasingly obese, melanoma-afflicted society has come to understand, it is possible to have too much of a good thing. And research shows it's possible not only to be happy, but also to experience the wrong types of happiness and to go about trying to find happiness at the wrong time and the wrong ways.
Happiness, relative. And really, what happiness is can be dopamine hits, meaning it can be small pockets of joy, right? That you can say, man, I'm happy. Understand, it feels good in this moment. When you think about your children, feels good to some of us. Feels good. Sometimes, the little pictures pop up on my iPad of like when my daughter was small, and I'm like, oh, it messes with my emotions, right? Feels good. But happiness is a relative emotion. And if we get caught chasing happiness, then what we'll end up doing is getting caught in our passions and not playing the smart game, the true goal-oriented game. Who cares? Here's an analogy. If I lock you in a room and close the door and lock the door, no food, no light, for a week, just a little bit of water, maybe some moldy bread. And after a week, I pull you out and I give you a lobster and steak crustacean dinner. How will that feel? Overwhelmingly good relative to where you've been. Will you consider yourself happy? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your brain will think you happy. You just was deprived. You were abused. So it's relative to where you were. And I'm going to leave y'all on that. We're going to start the slide on happiness next week and go deep on it. All right?
She tried to give me my water. I said, I don't need water. I like to get real chapped, I like to get celebrate my culture. My daughter told me this story. It's kind of cool. She said, Dad, we had to go to the chapel today. And I said, oh, okay. She said, they asked the question, why do you come to the chapel? She said, so you know me, I'm not going to say anything. I'm looking at my daughter's 6. So we have these cool conversations. So she goes, I wasn't going to say anything. I said, okay. She goes, but they called me out. So, I was nervous, but I just told them, I like going to the chapel because I get a chance to express how I'm grateful. And the reason that's powerful, that's on the back of my daughter has forced the house. If you come to my house at 9 o'clock, you got to pray. But what our prayer is, we all got to get on our knees and talk about what we're grateful for. And that's our prayer every night. What are we grateful for? And that's the reason I think that's so cool in light of what Court just taught is you can easily lose sight of your personal blessings and the things in your life that's working. It's really easy to get so focused on the next goal, you don't realize you climbed the mountain. You know what I mean? So it's just important every once in a while just stop. And every night we do it. The only night I wasn't grateful. Well, this is a funny story. Somebody stole my favorite soda. We had family members come over. And I bought these really expensive, like probiotic sodas, right? And I went to go get one. My wife made me some crab toast. And I went to grab my crab toast. I said, babe, give me one of them sodas because I eat a drink once a week. And they were gone. So I was so pissed off. And you always say, why are you pissed off? It's because it's not that you can't afford one. It's not the cost. I was ready to have my drink. And I was so we got on our knees that day. She's like, everybody said they're grateful. So it got to me. I said, I'm working on myself. so somebody still teases me about that. Anyway, all right. Let's jump into some of this. I got a lot of stuff to cover today. Real quick, before we get started, there's a podcast. I don't need that part yet. I don't want folks talking to me. There's a podcast. There's 2 podcasts I placed in the paid group. Let me say this real quick. So I think last year, Shakina wanted me to come to her studio and help her with marketing. And I've always wanted to really bring a rich arm of marketing and branding to class. But I've kind of done it by giving you guys a substance behind it, as opposed to just, here's a methodology. And I found these two YouTube podcasts that talk about marketing and branding. I promise you, if you go through these two YouTube videos, you should be able to instantly see your weaknesses in your businesses and start instantly addressing those weaknesses. You should also see, it's going to get to the psychology. So you'll see a lot of stuff that we taught in class, how I've given you guys the substance behind it. And then what he does in his class, he's a professor of marketing and branding. He actually delivers, he delivers it through visual work, and he puts a lot of work into it. So definitely make sure you go and look at those two podcasts. They're literally posted right now. If you are part of the email group, you should have it in your email. Those two when you get home. And I'm going to send you guys more and more stuff that's going to give you a lot more. Like, once again, I'm committed to really leveraging strategy, tactics, marketing, sales, all those type of tools. And so being that we only have so much time in class and I only can teach one day a week because I'm running my own business, this podcast is probably one of the best I've ever seen. It's like podcast slash video, and he takes time out and just really breaks down marketing history and all this kind of contextual information is so important. So I promise you, you guys may have a lot of questions next week. If you guys want to start the class off with some questions around marketing and branding, bring them to class. I can help you with those questions. But this should up your game by at least 20-30% by watching these two videos. So make sure you get a chance to watch these videos. I think they both like 30 minutes apiece. But by the time you finish these videos, you'll see the hidden psychology behind it. I'll give you an example. One thing. Remember last week we talked about that when you ask a person a question, a lot of times when you ask a person to share their thoughts, they will share their emotions, right? They substitute that. Okay, for marketing people, when we listen to people, we don't listen for your thoughts. Reasoning is the enemy of marketing. When last time you walked through a supermarket and was just reasoning? You don't, right? So one thing I was talking about to Shamara before the class started was you have to map out your customers' emotional journeys. From when they woke up in the morning, why are they coming to you? Why do they buy your product? What is the experience once they receive your product? And you have to learn all the different emotional tools you can use to change the experience of their engagement of your product. Some of us, because we don't feel like we're good enough, and we see our community is almost destroyed by suppression. When we start to rise up, we kind of overvalue ourselves. Never confuse the climb with the arrival. Never confuse that. So a lot of times as we're building in this space of reasoning and analysis, and we also realize we're climbing higher than our peers, we then engage marketing with those same type of mental approaches, where marketing is not about reasoning, it is emotional. So all the stuff you're learning about emotional agility, all the stuff you're learning about, all the stuff we taught more about emotions, every year we leverage so many details around emotions, right? We get into behavior, we get into human natural innate behavior. That's all marketing. It's not rational. Some of the stuff is not even reasoning. Like, this is why when you see somebody who's very reasonable and they're analyzing something. So for example, Reno, the biggest small city in the world. I think something like that's one of their sayings, right? Are they really? That's not the reason a person be like, well, we should analyze that. Marketers say, no, you just state that. Because if people feel that way, then you are. That's it. There's so much in this world that is not factual, but if you just feel that way, it is. And the only people who are not capable of taking advantage of that are the people who over-rationalize and over-reason. So just the one thing good about this piece he's going to place, and especially if you ever get a chance, to give you more ownership, subscribe to his page also, because he has a lot of great videos in there. Other thing, too, is read Robert Cialdini's books. He still is the leader of the psychology behind sales and marketing. And it's a journey you're going to be on because you're going to have a lot of aha moments, but it takes a little time to own it, right? A little bit of practice, going back to the book, practice, revisiting the book, practice, and over like a certain amount of years, you can almost become a marketing master. But you're going to realize that the reason many of us are horrible at marketing and sales, like we might have PhDs, highly educated, successful in everything we do, but we're horrible at marketing because we approach marketing with a reasoning mind, a rational mind. It's two different minds. So when I'm running my business, I'm very strategic, almost like I'm playing chess. But when I'm marketing or dealing with people, I'm reading emotions, I'm coding emotions, and I'm responding to emotions. If you respond, okay, one of my early mistakes at 5T Media, we used to go inside of companies and try to fix the company. We would get taking losses. We would have the best solution to solve the problem, but we were taking losses. The customer didn't want to be fixed. They just want to improve. And so and also sometimes the person who hired you don't really care about the outcome. They just want to raise and be celebrated by their peers. And so if you don't hit those emotional points in the name of completing a successful project, you just failed. You lose that client. You will finish the project, they will make money off the project and never hire you again. But there's people there's other companies I will say, and you don't want to be this either because it's not sustainable. But I know there's consulting companies right now that give everybody an emotional jolt, produce zero results, and they seem like they got all the contracts. But when you actually sit down with the people and say, okay, let's have a conversation, let's see what you have, they have nothing. All they have is they walk in the room and shit and jive. Hey, listen, gray. Oh, that's my favorite color. The other day, where you get them glasses from? You're like, we have not talked about business yet. And then they ask one question right on the board and do this fancy diagrams and say some cool shit and talk about how brilliant and how insightful and how we're gelling and how we're building bridges, how we're extending it. And they ain't said shit. And so at the end of the day, you'll find that if you're going to be successful with people, there is always going to be a marriage between reasonable, rational thinking and emotional thinking, emotional intelligence. If you don't blend those two together, you're not doing business. Business is about people. It's not about robots. You're not talking to robots. They're looking to feel good when they're in those meetings. They need to be celebrated. You know how many times I told people that they are trash, now celebrate them while I was telling them they were trash? And he walked away going, this feels really good. And I think something's wrong with the way I'm showing up. I know I've been telling you trash for 10 minutes. I've just been praising you in the midst. Like, hey, this is really, really good. However, I think where you're coming from, I think you're looking at it this way, which is, to me, that's absolutely brilliant. Have you ever thought about it this way? I said the same thing as saying you're trash. I actually just kind of predicted and made you sound good in front of your peers, because I realized that as long as I made you sound brilliant in front of your peers, I didn't break your trust, and you need that when I leave. So you see I'm going like this, like you're not understanding those emotional conversations you're having between the conversations, you can go in there and be right and be absolutely wrong. All right? All right, let's jump into this. I got some stuff to cover because this compounding shit is cold. You ready? Okay. All right. I'm going to move to the Jewish part kind of fast when we get to the as we get to the Jewish part. But I'm going to stop. Okay, Josh, this is not about you. but when we get to certain parts, I'm going to slow down so we can highlight it. I think this is the slide we read last week, so we're going to start right there and then we'll keep it moving. So, Shakina. All right, ready?
One example of how compounding knowledge creates options can be seen by looking at the long-term effects of Jewish education norms. Mm-hmm. In The Chosen Few, Maria Stella Botinici butchered it.
It's okay. You can butcher the names for you're from New York and I'm from Oakland. Just do it. Let's do it.
And Zvi Eckstein trace the roles of education in the Jewish religion and show how it was an investment that gave the Jewish people incredible opportunities.
So by the way, do y'all remember black folks in the 60s who used to talk about education was like the number one dialogue? Mm-hmm. 60s and 70s, black folks talked about education. Like if you walked to the black community in the 60s and 70s, it was, you gotta get educated, you gotta get your degree, you gotta go to school, you gotta go to college, right? We don't realize that was actually kind of powerful. It wasn't the end game. It was part of the compounding process. Keep going.
In the first century of the Common Era, Jewish scholars and religious leaders issued a religious ordinance requiring all Jewish fathers to send their sons from age of 6 or 7 to primary school to learn to read and study the Torah in Hebrew. Throughout the first millennium, no people other than the Jews had a normal requiring fathers to educate their sons.
Next slide.
Botticini and Eckstein make it clear that there was no plan in the early days of Jewish education that this practice would offer advantages down the road.
Key point.
As they explain,
Stop, pause real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Compounding, remember, is boring in the beginning. It almost seems like you're walking into a tunnel and there's no outcome, right? It's not like, so a lot of times when you start a good idea, a good principle, same thing with reverse, which we're going to show after the end of this. A lot of times a bad idea, a seed, think about compounding as the seed, right? And a lot of times when you start a seed, it's hard to talk about the tree when all you're looking at is seeds, right? Let's keep going.
As they explain in the beginning, sending children to school to learn to read and study the Torah was a sacrifice with no economic returns in the agrarian economies in which Jews lived. Following the rules to educate was costly both in terms of maintaining the educational infrastructure and productive time lost. Initially, the only tangible benefit to following the rule was probably something like spiritual satisfaction.
Keep going. Next slide.
When the norm of education was instituted, Jewish people were primary farmers.
They were just farmers. They were just like everybody else, farmers. Keep going.
Within a few centuries, they had given up farming for more lucrative professions as craftsmen, merchants, and moneylenders.
So how long did it take for them to adjust from being farmers to something else?
Couple centuries.
Remember, guys, I told you that self-preservation has no love for selfishness, right? So the commitment to certain ideas is almost like a group dynamic, right? It's almost like we're so rational today. If the group wanted to move this way for a good reason, we'll be like, well, what about, I think personally, I don't feel like I should have to do what I ever. We suffer because of lack of our group identity. This whole individualism, I'm doing me. You understand you're compromising the group compounding effect? Is that shit cold? Like you literally have to join some idea. Think about this, okay, so my daughter was put in a preschool. My wife came home, she said, so kindergarten, it's going to be $3,000 a month, and then by the time she gets to fourth grade, it's going to be $4,000 a month. I'm from public schools, people, okay? I didn't even pay for lunch. I had the Black Panthers. So all of a sudden, somebody told me 3 G's a month. I had heart problems that day. I had to breathe. But it's bigger than me. You don't want this, I can easily say, well, we're going to move out to San Leandro. My daughter needs to learn how to speak Spanish anyway. But why am I willing to make this investment? Now, here's something that's really dope. On the date, last week was my daughter's birthday party. It's supposed to be 10 people, and it'll be 55 people at my house. Real. It's real. Real. A lot of people. My wife's like, oh, it's no big thing for you. Okay, so 55 people. But I'm watching most of the people that came, because my wife actually hit the check the button and invited her whole class. And her whole class showed up. And I watched how this game was working, right? I watched the type of gift they gave. I watched how they showed up. And I said, oh, this is a business networking group growing up together. Many of us are missing that. We're so caught up in this individual story. A lot of times my investment in this system, I'm investing in her economic ecosystem already. I'm watching the diversity, the white kids, black kids, and I'm watching how there's certain amount of comfort of communication, how the parents was talking. And I'm like, oh, I'm watching even the gifts they're providing for each other. I'm like, oh, this is an ecosystem. I mean, we were taught, make sure they have a good education. But also, I'm plugging her into a system that has a high return. So even though it looks like I'm spending a lot of money, I'm not. I'm actually investing in something that's going to give my daughter a high-ass return. You can't build compounding if you're constantly making selfish arguments. It's not possible. And so for a few centuries, they didn't say 1 century, that's 300 years, they were still farming until they weren't, right? Look at the brothers and sisters from India right now. Look at their values they had before. Matter of fact, okay, y'all not old as I am, but when I was 15 and 16, the Asian kids were being laughed at. They were flooding. They looked crazy to us. We was capping on them. Mom and daddy was sacrificing their ass off to make sure son and daughter received their education. And my guys have been paying attention to Silicon Valley lately, right? Don't envy them. Don't even like, oh, they should, or no. You're seeing the effects of their compounding. So black people, we're really talking about changing shit. I know we're impatient and we want to make a decision today and have some big explosion happen and every black person just sit on top of mountains living lavishly, building the world. But the rule of compounding says that change sometimes is a slow process. It's a slow process. Even in our personal life, this is 18 years in the making. If you really want to be honest, it's goddamn, 48 years in the making. Because I fell in love with wisdom when I was 8. And I was like, oh shit, I love this wisdom shit. I used to just read Proverbs all the time. They say, go read the Bible. Y'all read the rest of this book. I'm reading Proverbs. And I thought it was just the most amazing book ever, right? So it started that was the seed of hey, I want to do something. No, I actually started at 5. At 5, I went to my great-grandmother. I was watching TV. And I was watching this cop show. And then I watched these dudes walk in the room with suits on. And I watched them, they was the businessmen. So I went in my bedroom, put on my suit, walked in my kitchen with my grandmother and said, great-grandmother, I want to be a businessman. She said, what? I said, got my suit on, I'm ready to be a businessman. You got to teach me to be a businessman. Of course it didn't work out like that, but those seeds were planted, right? And then the reason I said 18 years was focused investment. I mean, I wasn't being distracted and doing different things and chasing noise and chasing all kind of, butterfly and squirrel. I was literally staying focused and continuing to reinvest in the same direction. So now when I'm able to generate high resources or reach higher goals, that's not because I'm special. Everybody in this room is more special than I am. The difference is compounding. That's it. Matter of fact, this is why your observation of many people are distorted, because a lot of times you're seeing them at the end of the compounding. You're not seeing them at the beginning of the compounding. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. I can't tell. I used to say the first year, I think Shakina was around when I first started teaching this class. I said, the first 5 or 6 years of 510 media, I felt like I was just stuck in a dark tunnel. Couldn't see any light. But I just knew, keep walking. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. And I had to be careful. I had to make sure I wasn't distracted by false accolades. Oh my God, you're doing amazing. Keep your head down. Keep walking. I had to stay away from comparisons. So let's say Ryan blows up tomorrow. I'm like, oh shit, she just did the same thing you're doing, but she's making millions right now, right? Can't pay attention to that, right? Can't pay attention to the hottest trends. See, everybody's doing this right now. Everybody done joined the Uber life, and he's driving a Corvette. That's not my concern. Stay focused, right? The hustlers come to me. Hey man, if you just fandangle this right here and whoop to whoop, you had that shit popping out. That's how I blew up. Stay focused. All those people died by the wayside, badly. But the key was compounding, slowly staying in the same direction. And it looks so sexy if you see me in the last 5-6 years. You'd be like, oh my God, Nana, you blew the fuck up. Oh my God. Some of y'all remember me running around with a cheap ass camera, smile. Smile. Right? Ask me to take a picture right now. Look at you like, what? What? Was my daughter in the room? What the fuck are you talking about? That's growth. That's growth. Did I enjoy the journey? Yeah. Was it rough as fuck? Yeah. My mother-in-law was convinced I was cheating and told the whole family he has to be cheating because there's no way in the world man can be gone for 12 hours a day and ain't cheating. She really told, and literally, and I mean, me and Mashama would be in the office so many damn hours together that it would just be like all we knew was 510 media, go to work, show up. We didn't even know what people were saying about us. All we knew was we got to get past a certain point, keep our heads down, And we're not there because it's something we don't know. And we didn't blame nobody else. We didn't say somebody was in our way. We had people who were, I remember the first time I went to Carrie H. Williams. Tried to talk to her. She snobbed me. All right, cool. See you later. I went to this dude named Anton. He was a photographer. He snobbed me. I said, okay, cool. When I went to them, I was looking for like some insights to help me accelerate. I wasn't asking them to put me on because there's no such thing to me. Because if you put me on, it means you control me, and I'm not into that, right? I'm not trying to be under your umbrella. I'm trying to be your competition. And I just kept my head down. And all of a sudden, things just continue to accelerate. But all that acceleration, now, here's the funny thing. As I'm growing, I study even harder now than I did before. Because I realize that what got me here won't get me here. And also, too, my progress is not arrival. You don't ever arrive. Once you start thinking you arrive, you slip backwards. Once you start thinking you're better than somebody else, you slip backwards. So, like, for example, when I meet people new in business or having started businesses, and they try to kind of almost shrink themselves in my presence, I explain to them, no. I'm not better than you. I am you. I just got more time in. That's it. And I got commitment to stand. Like, for example, if somebody come in and they're a super bodybuilder, they're you too. They had focused commitment, right? Where the person who doesn't have that same shape, who goes to the gym all the time, they lack that same focus and commitment. That's all it is. All right, Shakina, let's keep rolling.
Botticini and Eckstein demonstrate that the direction of casuality thus runs from investment in literacy and human capital to voluntarily giving up investing in land and being farmers, to entertaining urban occupations, to becoming mobile and migrating.
Keep going. Next slide.
Yeah,
there you go.
First, in the Muslim caliphates, and then in medieval Europe, Jewish people were consistently able to move into more financially rewarding professions at a significantly higher rate than non-Jewish people.
So now, I want y'all to imagine the people that they're passing out, the stories that Envy told them. Oh, they got here because my religion said they're here because the energies of myth said they're here because remember, compounding is so invisible, it looks like a magic trick. It's not. So no one was there when mama and daddy said, yo, I know we're supposed to be farming, but son gotta go to school. What? We got work to do. I know. He gotta go to school. So now they're making this progress. Oh, see, God is punishing us by giving the Jewish community, you see how that can start to grow into a certain space where it becomes something else. Also, if you grow faster than people around you, you're no longer recognizable. You're no longer. If me and Court goes to a party of our past, they don't know who the fuck are y'all? And matter of fact, they're gonna misread us, and what comes out of our mouth and what they hear will always be two different things. That's the curse of growth. You won't be recognizable. Once you decide to become the king, you don't get to have peasant dialogue. It's a hard game. You gotta learn how to translate and learn how to also, matter of fact, I spend more time walking around looking broke than I do looking like I have some money. Because if you look like you have money, you start to break translation with everybody in your path. I had to give you an example. So when I was waiting on my BMW X7 to be made, this is my car I had before this one. This is during COVID, so they made me an X7. It was taking 3 months. So in the 3 months, I was driving my company van. This is before we re-wrapped it. So the wrapping was starting to peel because we wasn't using the van often. So it often just sat parked, and the sun just gave it a whooping. So when I was pulling up in my van, the people on the block oh yeah. They was like, oh, you know, if you ever want to like get a discount, you can go over this spot here, and you can do this. Everybody was friendly. So my X7 comes out. I drive up in my X7. Do you realize all those people just literally looked at me and stopped talking to me? All of them. They were talking about the rich versus the poor all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's really crazy, huh? Because rich people, I'm like, oh, yeah, rich people some shit, ain't they? As soon as they saw I had resources, like, you motherfucking imposter. Like, I promise you this shit's gonna happen. You think I'm joking? It's like, if you catch me on the weekend or the weekdays if you're running around, I got on the same 4 or 5 old sweats I've had 6, 7 years, same old T-shirts. Like I'm a joke. You see me, it's sometimes you just be like, but I realized the more I dress down, the more people open up to me. When I walk in a certain kind of way, I invoke this, almost this caricature to show up to me, and so no longer am I talking to people. And so at the gym, I wear the oldest sweats I can find. Everybody loves me at the gym. I would never come in there stunting. It's a waste of my time. And then also, I don't want to be associated with the make-believe upper class. The make-believe upper class is all these black folks who go to all these fancy events in the Bay Area that have all these discussions. But I promise you, if you ask them to bust a grape in a fruit fight, they got no money. No money. I promise you, I know this specific. I'm not talking from a hypothesis. I'm talking about working with people going, this is all you really have, huh? All that shit you talking, this is all you got. All right, let's keep going.
The literacy of the Jewish people, coupled with a set of contract enforcement institutions developed during the 5 centuries after the destruction of the Second Temple,
That's very powerful when you learn about literacy at that time. Go ahead.
gave the Jews a comparative advantage in occupations such as crafts, trades, and money lending. So, while most of the population in medieval Europe consisted mainly of illiterate peasants, sharecroppers, and agricultural laborers, Jewish people were able to leverage their literacy and other aspects of their culture to specialize in lucrative professions. Jewish people took advantage of the opportunity their education gave them by moving into professions that paid well.
Keep going. Next slide.
Just because you don't anticipate all of the opportunities and investments will give you down the road doesn't mean you don't take advantage of them when they arise. From very
So
early-
pause real quick. That's compounding. When you're compounding, you won't see the benefits of those choices. Doesn't mean you won't take advantage of those choices. Okay, so remember when Cora was saying earlier, you say I want to do this job because I don't want to take I love what I do every day, and I like Shakina also highlighted like she enjoyed her job, so it allowed her to miss so many other opportunities. She assumed the other side of that fence. When you get to that side of the fence, there are new blessings waiting for you that you can't even begin to imagine. Like there's dreams you've had that you didn't know they were even possible for you. But if you let yourself just climb on the other side of the fence, you'd be like, oh, this is what it's about now? But a lot of times, because deep down inside we don't feel like we're good enough, we feel like, hey, I reached the top of my mountain. Not realizing, no, that's a small mountain on the block. There's another mountain next to it with other experiences that's way beyond your imagination that can give you even deeper rewards. So your loyalty to your past story doesn't allow you to birth the new story. And the new story is always better than the old story. But the fear of letting that story go, it's almost like you don't want to go what you're comfortable with for something that you don't know about, right? That's just kind of human. That's very human. We hate uncertainty. But I can trust you, the other side is 10 times more rewarding than you can imagine. It's just that you can't imagine it. That's the only part. And what you do with it, so it's almost like you're trying to protect what you can control over what you can't control. Not realizing it's just birthing a new life. It's being reborn again, literally being reborn again. But the fear of the birth process and the comfort of what you know stops the process. Not you love it so much, there's nothing else you would love more. It's not a thing. Go ahead, keep going.
From very early days, Jewish people invested in education. At first, likely for spiritual reasons, but the investment nonetheless later allowed them to capitalize on changes in the world's economy.
So by the way, as you invest in relationships, education, and your money, you will get opportunities you didn't know existed. You got to trust the compounding process, and it's going to start slow. I promise you, when I first started investing my money, I thought, why is this a thing? This is boring. This is not fast enough for me. And then about 4 years later, I looked at my numbers and said, oh, this is a thing. Why haven't I done this? This is so exciting, right? when it first started, it doesn't have any luster. It is not sexy. It's nothing you're excited about. Same thing with relationships. When you first start investing in relationships, it's not exciting, right? When you start investing in skills, look, I wish y'all knew Shakina when she first started. It would make your nose bleed. It would make your nose bleed. Like, listen to her conversations today. If I could take you back 8 years ago from her compounded in personal investment, you'd be like, it's not. My business partner met her in the beginning. He met her about her 4th year of self-investment and said, no, you're not the same. You can't be the same person. It's not possible. He wasn't even trying to be funny because the person he met in the beginning was like, you're not going to ever be that person, right? Like, imagine, I don't know, get all the details, but imagine being born in the worst part of the hood, right? Single mother, worst part of the hood, with no college degree and no family support, to building your own establishment, your own business, your own building, advisory role to other people, and making investment decisions. Like, I just want y'all to see the contrast, right? A lot of y'all might think, oh, I only have this. You just haven't compounded. Once you compound, you realize it doesn't start the way you wish. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It starts to speed up. But those of you, what happened is that, let me tell you how you guys got caught. You got caught by the hustler trick. The hustler trick is 1, 2, 3. Oh, I can get some faster over here? I can move quicker over here. I'm gonna do this little lick over here. This is gonna give me some real resources. And this is an Oakland thing. By the way, this is an Oakland thing. The hustling thing is anti-compounding. You say, well, why is hustling anti-compounding? Do you realize a dope dealer and a hustler is not compounding? If you sell dope and you hustle over a certain period of time, all the shortcuts you take, you don't accumulate. Because you don't accumulate, 10 years into the game, you have very little value to others. Person who's always trying to hustle, trying to like get the quick turn, the quick lick, the quick fast way, the easy way in, the short step, the shortcuts, you realize that you're stealing from your own personal compounding. It is critical that you don't take the shortcuts. The hustling game is a losing game. It's almost like, hustling's like cocaine. I give you pleasure, but you take a loss. That's all you're gonna take a loss. So even when I was my first 5 to 8 years, that's a lot of people gave me offers to take little shortcuts. Nah, man, I don't want that shortcut. That's not even sustainable. Go ahead, Kaja.
How are you discerning between shortcuts and inertia?
Okay, inertia is you. It's not really a shortcut. You feel it's almost an extension of. Let's say for example, let's say we've been running Hope for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, a couple of influencers say, "Wow, we love that class," right? Or an investor comes in and goes, "Hey, we want to invest in this program." That's a form of inertia, right? Because you're already working on something. You're keeping it. A shortcut is, I'm going this way, and then I turn right or hard left for a little trick, or I try to do some shortcut. That ain't really got to do with what I do every day, but it's a way to kind of like trick the system and get some resources. Or I trick the system for status, but it's not a continuum of the path I need to go on to grow. You get where I'm going with that? So you see that Oakland gets down like this all the time. People are looking for fast ways to make some fast money to get that money to stunt and hold a position. There's famous people in Oakland. I won't call their name because I don't got time for that little silly shit. There's people right now that's hella famous in Oakland are hustling masters. And some of them are political. They talk that shit. They on the camera. Somehow every time a camera turn around, they like. Oh, yeah. I know them personally. They not like that. They're not about that business. They hustling. The cold part is when that tension goes away, they made no investment, and everybody around them know they're hustling. And those people, they need no relationship investment. They need no knowledge investments. Like I know some people who are in politics and don't know politics. How the fuck are you in politics and you don't understand the science of politics? Because you're hustling, right? It's when you get that job, you fake it till you make it. You hustling. You hustling. If you get that job and then you learn it, like you commit yourself to learning it, you're growing into a new opportunity. Hustling is you're just getting there and then you're trying to get to the next position the same way, get to the next position, hold a position like this. You know the fuck you ain't doing. That's hustling. This is what we do in Oakland. That's some Oakland shit, right? We're the hustle capital. But it's a loss. It's a loss. If it's not a loss, why is it Oakland a multi-billion-dollar city and it's hella poor black people. We're missing something. We're not tapping into that. There's a wave of money and resources going through Oakland every day, right? I promise you, if we just learn to fish it, we can pull all the fish out of that system we want. But when you're hustling, you don't qualify yourself to be approved. A cat was hanging out with me last week, says, Nana, you know what? You know how to go get the bag. And I was like, I'm gonna let it go. I should crush him. But what he was suggesting is that I can go in there and just talk to white people to give me money. He doesn't see the product I built for 18 years, which is an incentive, or it's a value offer to my clients. White, black, Chinese, Asian, I don't get short, tall, whatever, right? I built a value. Hustlers don't care about value. They care about what do you think most of these self-help courses are? They're hustlers. They're not investing. Look, there's no fucking way you can go to Gary Vee class and deal with the day-to-day decision-making that happens as you evolve in your business. It's not the same thing. They're talking to your emotional. It's almost like if you're dreaming on being on a fantasy island, and I'd be like, yo, so, I'm gonna teach a class on like how to hang out with Gilligan and like how to like to drink from coconuts and how to bathe in the sun and how to fish for your food and get fresh water from the oasis. And you get there, you realize you're about to die. You should have went to bear class, which is how to survive when you don't know shit. Right, and the things, and there's hella predators out there trying to take your life every second. The first night you're there, you're already dead because you didn't prepare for that shit. That's how self-help people, most of them are hustlers. And so many of us even start teaching self-help classes our damn self. I've had people in my motherfucking class who sat here, who I know ain't made a dime, who taught self-help classes and been on these flyers that's all over Facebook, sitting going, you don't know shit. I've called a couple I was close to and told them you don't know shit. But they was hustling. They were taking shortcuts. Now, if they would have stayed with it, they are great orators, so they could have been great. If they were just stuck with it, they took one or two classes. Yeah, I got it. Rinse and repeat. You're not making that self-investment. Self-investment is a component. Once you take shortcuts, you will betray and undermine your growth. You have to, by course of words, you have to stick with it. You have to go through something to get something. But this taking shortcuts, if you ask Court, how many people got into a clothing business as hustlers, and where are they today? They don't make it. How many places? I mean, people in every industry that's hustlers. There's people who go train basketball players all the time. They're not gonna make it. The person who commits to really learning the art, the science, and having ownership. That's another word. Ownership. Hustlers don't have ownership. Charisma, no ownership. So people like Gary Vee, I laugh at them cats because like that shit's cute, but this day-to-day decision making is fucking complex, and there's a lot of work you're gonna have to do. Many of us can jump in the double dutch ropes, but many of us won't survive the double dutch game, and that's where we're missing it at. We thinking that the jumper, the person who jumped in the middle or started the business, that's where we want to get to, without realizing the boring decision making you did making day every day is the part we need help on. Or what about when the money comes? I can't tell you how many people killed their business when the money came. Where's your support? Where's Gary Vee gonna help you with that? They don't. They're not building that. What they're building is a hustle-based system. That's number one. Let me play the gangster concept. Let me reverse the gangster concept. Who remember back in the 90s when black people would say, I'm selling dope to help my family? Mm-hmm. Y'all remember that? It sounded good, didn't it? It sounded like you felt, you had sympathy for the person, right? You're like, oh, damn, right? Now let's reverse that same concept from a compounding analysis. So when you sell dope to help your family, are you really? Mm-mm. What brand are you setting your kids? To kill your community in the name of a profit. Also, you're disconnecting your family from civics, which is, because see, selling dope is anti-civics, right? Because you invest in the environment, so the environment invests in you, right? So then as you break down family, not only you're breaking down your family structure, you're breaking down other family structures, which your kid has to go to school and hang out in those other family structures, right? Then their behavior starts to attack property ownership, start to attack jobs, start to attack safety, which that means destroys innovation and competition. If you look at the simple act of dope dealing and its compounding effect, you will realize there's no fucking way you can get away with, I'm trying to protect my family, and you think that's an okay statement. It's so fucking destructive if you understand compounding. But if you look at it linear, you miss it. This is why it's important. Once you start to put on the glasses of compounding, you'll see a lot of small seeds that you will seem very innocent, not that bad. He's just going to get a drink every once in a while. But once you understand compounding, like, yo, once this fire gets out of control, it'll have this impact, this impact, this impact, this impact, this impact, this impact. Before you know it. And now, once you learn to see compounding, it's the hardest thing in the world to communicate. You know why? Because you have to go to the people and tell them, hey, that little small seed is deadly. This? Everybody eats this shit. No, you can't. Oh, you're doing too much. You're analyzing too much. I don't run stop signs. Why not? Because young black dude watched me run a stop sign in a fancy car says, if he does it, fuck it, I do it. That means the family that got killed 6 years from now, I played a role in their death. You guys go, I don't give a fuck attitude. You know, that's compounding, right? I held the conscious community when I came up under the pro-black umbrella of the 90s. And one of the things I challenged the black community was, be careful amplifying white people's supremacy because you're gonna destroy black people's hope. Right? Oh, white people, they ain't gonna let you, they gonna stop this, they destroy this, Black Wall Street, they didn't do this. First of all those stories are distorted, it's not true, you gotta look into them deeper, you realize, like for example, we went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, I said, hey, do me a favor, when you're going there, look at the industry, like where did money come from? Right? You can't tell me everybody just worked really, really hard. Like if we all right now, we're all broke and we just went to commune and we started working really hard, we still all broke. We just work really hard, right? Where did Tulsa have all this money? One guy had access to oil. Oh, right? So once one guy had access to oil, then even the idea of Tulsa being this thriving business environment, questionable, right? Also, Tulsa revived itself. Never discussed, right? There's so many different layers to Tulsa, Oklahoma but the conscious community was wrapping the story all in a victimization undertone. So what are we telling black people? Well, you ain't got a chance. Which will produce some of the worst hood dudes you gonna ever imagine. The fuck I got to live for? The world don't give a fuck about me? Fuck all y'all. My daddy's so dope, fuck everybody. I'm gonna get mine. Even if it means killing you, prostituting you, I don't give a fuck. Not you, Jasadi. I wasn't saying just prostitution. Don't be sensitive, okay? But the point is this. So what is that? No matter who, so we don't understand, like, a lot of the innocent ideas of the past we don't bring into the discussion because we're looking at everything linear. Now realizing that social responsibility, could you imagine being the FCC today going, why the fuck do we even exist? There was a time FCC said, you can't curse, you can't do this on TV, you can't do that on TV. Then the internet came along and everything was everything. Now our kids are watching everything is everything. Some of us are having problems in our house that we didn't even know was possible to have, right? We got to learn how to manage the seeds and stop waiting for shit to blow up or become a full-grown tree. You guys getting that shit? It's gonna make you seem kind of weird sometime in your business when you're managing the seeds. The reason I don't have as many fires in my business because I put them out when they're really, really small.
You know, it also it makes people think, especially in business, employees think that you're nitpicky. You're an asshole. You're doing too much. You're making a big deal over nothing. But in actuality, you're watching the second order effects of that seed and you're stamping it out before it happens. And it's like, well, why you tripping? It's like, because you don't see the compounding effect of this.
100%. That's why corporate America doesn't make sense to a lot of employees, because they don't see the compounding. Oh, management be tripping, management. You don't. A company may dump a product that you'd be like, everybody, why would you change it? Because they know that it only has an expiration date, and they don't get started soon on this new direction, they're dead in the water, right? But to you have a loyalty to, like, man, the Camaro was one of my favorite cars, dog. You ain't might buy no motherfucking Camaro in 10 years from now. That's y'all old ass. Y'all about to die. I know y'all gonna die. If I want this company to be a 100-year survivor like GM, that means I need to start thinking about where we going next? What's next? So you might but you're a leader. Yeah, but I'm a leader in a dying industry. I need to get into this new industry. When you're making leadership decisions, don't expect to be popular sometimes. Mm-hmm. Some of this shit's gonna be like, and then once it works, people be like, oh my God, you were so insightful, oh my God. But it's not insightful in the early stages. When you're managing your family, in my family, this decision, okay, I have structure in my house that are designed to filter out the bad seeds, right? This sort of structure I have in my house. If you walk my house, you're like, that just seems petty. It seems small. It seems silly. Until you then see the outcome of somebody who didn't manage that seed. You go, oh, that shit's real, right? Now I have to figure ways to not become overweighted in my leadership, because you don't want that to happen. Because there's a tipping point where you can go too far with this, and now your whole family leaves you because they'll go out and play with the wild just because they think you were going to the extreme, right? There has to be some smart. Yeah, they almost transfer ownership and make it almost invisible, right? But like in my family early stages, we had a lot of young girls, young boys, young kids around the family. And my wife, because I was working all the time, she had a live and let live type of undertone. Ask her about those kids. So once I was able to finally come out the office and come home, had a lot of discussions, found out she was doing a lot of live and let live and a lot of stuff. The kids took received a lot of damage because she was like, oh, this, they can make, they can adjust, So I come home, my daughter's born. Yo, we not doing that shit right there. That shit got me fucked up. No, we're not doing this here. And it wasn't because I'm responding to them. It was because at the time, my focus, I was so buried in this, and we were having conversations as if she was managing these things. But when I would leave, she wasn't managing those things. And those things would seem so petty. Trust me, when you run your own company, you got to see those things. Mm-hmm. And if you don't see those things, you just let it go because you feel like it's too much energy or you're doing too much. You'll fuck around and lose your company because you just didn't see all the seeds that grew up to be weeds that choked your whole system. I promise you this. I'm the coldest cat in the world. Like we had this one dude we hired, his PhD. Once we realized, we both don't like this dude. So I called him in and fired him, sit him down. Now mind you, we clipped him from the company in 2 months. We could have held on 6 to 8 months, 12 months and kind of figured ways to use them. Nah. So what happened was, I called him in, I was like, yo, sit down, I need to talk to you. Masham walked in and goes, you know what it is, you're fired. I said, goddamn, son, you can. If y'all know Mashama, he's a nicer one, I'm the mean one. So for him to come in, he's like, man, the dude knew what the fuck he was doing. He just wasn't performing to our standards. We gotta go. It's the bill, let's go. Right? But it's one of those things like, you gotta move with that. His aggressiveness was he saw the seed. He's like, I ain't got time to play with this shit, let's go. We building something over here, Nana. So, you got to make that clip. Otherwise, that clip will cost you so much money. Or you may find yourself in a lawsuit with that clip because you waited too goddamn long. Go ahead.
I'm full of questions tonight.
No, that's all good.
Not through intentionally working in a silo, but what I'm working on, it's really a solo activity. I don't have a team. I'm doing all the production and writing all the interviews. I'm doing all the travel. It's just me doing it. Mm-hmm. So for now.
That's the key word, for now.
Right.
Your growth is going to depend on you growing that team.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there could be seeds that I don't know are seeds. Like what I was talking to you about when I came in today. If I knew what to do differently, if I was clear on what to do differently, I would probably be doing it. But because I'm not sure, there could be, so this is a twofold question. There could be seeds that I don't know are seeds. That's point number one. Point number two, just to go back a little bit to what you said about shortcuts, I do be feeling lately like you better take a shortcut because a lot of the people that are moving in the same space I'm moving in, they just happen to have the foresight to start in 2020 when they had a captive audience. So it's not necessarily your platform is better, my platform is better, your production is better, my production is better. But you started earlier and you started when we had a captive audience, so you have a bigger platform. And so I'm having to work twice as hard to try to capture some of that now that everybody's outside. So I do feel like you better find a shortcut and you better find it quickly so that you can at least get on par with what's happening.
Okay, let me hit that one first, and we get the second one.
Okay.
Okay. Huge distortions. Let's take that to money. You have friends who are rich. So then you start working shortcuts to get money because they already got money. You're in jail. Or you're dead. Right? Comparisons, first of all, will fuck up your perception of reality.
Yeah.
2, what's the destination? Like you act like they're gonna be God sit on top of this mountain for the rest of till your great-great-grandkids are born. She gonna change so fast that one day they're gonna just, like when I was a kid, there was a store called Catwell's. It was the Macy's of its time. It's gone. You don't even know, there was a Montgomery Wars or Wool Wars. You probably see them in some 1960 film. They're gone. I thought things would be around. Kmart's damn near gone, right? There's Mervyn's gone, right? What you'll find is that as you put the work in, you'll discover the new path they haven't taken yet, and they're overcommitted to this path, so they die when you become the new person on the block. You got to put your time in. Cutting that time short means you're going to miss that path because you're chasing their path, and their path is already dying. So that's such a bad business model. There's no way in the world I would embrace that in any area, any field. If you were any of my clients, I'd be like, yo, that's horrible. Because you're doing comparisons is the death of growth.
True.
You cannot compare. You got to figure out what is your angle, what's your value, and stop looking at get your hands out of their pockets. You're all in their pockets. And as you look in their pockets, you don't even know what their pockets look like if you want to be honest about it. Once you get in their pockets, you might be like, motherfucker, you broke? I thought you was broke this whole time. Well, I told you I was a boss. But so what I'm saying is that once you realize that a lot of this shit you're looking at is, remember I told you observation knowledge is the weakest knowledge you can ever have. Stop engaging in observation knowledge. You don't even know what's happening in the back room. You don't know the tricks of the game. And you'll learn your tricks and your techniques and whatever that is through your experiences. Now that ties to your seed argument. Some seeds you will see and you got to make your move on those seeds. However, your ability to see more seeds comes with the experience and the time. As you learn, as you hang out with your peers, as you receive feedback, which you hated so much in the past, and that's why you can't see as many seeds. And the more you learn to embrace it and see the value of it, and once you start to master the art of seeing the seeds, you will chase feedback. Matter of fact, if you give me feedback and I don't feel like I need to change anything, that's not feedback. I'm looking for the feedback that's gonna make me uncomfortable. Right? Like if somebody says none of fighting media sucks, I'd be like, yo, why you think that? Not like, man, what the fuck you talking about with your broke head? No, I don't do that. Right? I'm looking for seeds. I realize I have biases now because I have a perspective bias because I'm one of the co-owners of 510 Media. But as one of the co-owners of 510 Media, that means that I can't see certain things. So I need y'all to tell me that's trash. And guess what? I'm going back I'm going to go work on that shit. Or I'm going to analyze them and see if this, what's the relevance? Is the market? Are you part of the market I'm trying to aim at? Or are you a potential market? There's a whole bunch of equations I go through to process your feedback, and something's going to get disrupted. Something's going to get disrupted. So what I'm saying to you is that growth, friction, time, compounding gives you value in where you're going to go and what you can see. Go ahead, Shakina.
I just wanted to say, based on what you had said, Kaja, I think one of the hidden things about comparison, which we get lured into doing a lot in social media culture, like everything is about comparison, is that when you're looking at what the next person is doing, you are missing all of the opportunities because you're focused on what they're doing. So you're not able to see the gaps. Like, what are they not hitting? What are they not doing well? So I remember...
Who's underserved?
Yeah, like you don't get to... you're not even thinking about what they're not doing well because you're so focused on what they have a magnifying glass on. So they could be hitting it on social media or pulling in these big name guests, but that's 5% of the audience, and the other 95% that nobody's focusing on, that are spending $2 every month, and you got 100,000, 1 million subscribers, they're gonna blow you out the water, because most of the time those big names don't even wanna pay you or don't even wanna spend money with you. And so I just think about that. I remember having a conversation with Shamara when Stretch Lab was opening up, and I had just expanded my company to go from just training to moving into like a whole wellness encompassing space. And I was stressed out because I was like, I just built out a whole facility to support my stretch therapy business. And then they got the McDonald's of stretch therapy. And at first it stressed me out, but then I looked at it as an advantage, because then I had all these people getting these Mickey Mouse 99-cent store exposures to stretch therapy, but now they got a taste and they liked it. And there was a company spending millions of dollars advertising a service that created a need in the community that I could capitalize on, because I could say, you can go to the 99-cent store or you can come to Saks Fifth Ave. And then all these people started coming in, but I didn't have the budget to be able to hit that exposure. I didn't have the plug in all those communities, but if I would have stayed focused on the comparison of, I don't got billions of dollars to open up locations in every city, 5 in every, it's just like you give yourself the gift when you stop comparing to see other opportunities. So.
All right, let's keep rolling. Where would you finish the slide?
No.
Okay.
Their literacy allowed them to be the first movers when new professions arose that required and thrived on an understanding of words and numbers. Bottassini and Eckstein explain that the Jewish community reaped the benefits of their investment in literacy by selecting into urban skilled occupations.
Next slide.
The lesson of applying the lens of compounding to Jewish education norms is to invest in things that provide you with benefit.
So what's the key word? Invest in things that provide you with benefit. Once you identify what those things are, you got to keep investing in them. It's not like, okay, if the gym provides you benefit, you can't do it sometimes or inconsistent. Whatever provides you benefit, you got to continue to invest in. Keep going.
For the early Jewish people, they received from their investment in literacy a benefit in terms of their religious commitment. As time continued, the knowledge they accrued compounded, giving later generations exceptional opportunities.
Wow. Think about this. If everybody in this room became millionaires, we can invest to create a billionaire. But there's a certain, don't get me wrong, we're not going to try to make it seem like it's a pure linear evolution between the billionaires in Silicon Valley and early Americans. We're not trying to make that distortion, which I can get to something. I got another concept behind that, but not right now. But okay, this should give you a clue. An Asian company came into America, stole America's technology, and makes billions of dollars per day. It's called Samsung. So it ain't locked down like that, people. Stop acting like the money and resources are locked. Power in this country ain't even locked down like that. But it's locked down to you if you're moving at the lowest frequency, then it's locked down to you, right? But once you start to grow, you'd be surprised how a lot of those obstacles and barriers are movable. All those walls can be turned. But as long as you're constantly focusing in a working class mindset, then they seem insurmountable. So that was one of my early clues that, wait a minute, Banana Republic was a foreigner that grew so big that America went to him to borrow his Navy to fight the Spanish. Like, once you realize this country is hard, you know how hard it is to lock down something? The rules of thermodynamics say that at some point, you will have access to the same stuff. It's going to happen. You can accelerate that process, you can slow that process down. But if you believe it can't, then it won't. It's just that simple. Keep rolling.
Recognizing that knowledge compounds helps us be mindful about how we can leverage our investment in the future and to look for opportunities compounding will open up.
So the more you learn this business, like Hope, right? The reason Hope has been running consistently is because we realize if we can get you to learn the discipline of just learning this business stuff, standing around your peers, like even you being around your peers, you just keep talking about your business, you'll pick up a lot more seeds than you could have picked up by yourself, right? You constantly learning. I can't tell you how many times I had to do a big presentation and I'm just doing my routine and learning, and all of a sudden I run across something and go, oh, this is what I'm going to do, right? The reward, the return, is never been, I want to give I'm going to do this, so I'm going to read this, and I'm going to have this outcome. It's sometimes that does happen, but a lot of times I'm just in the discipline of making that investment, and the returns have been so. There's many opportunities I've received that a lot of people have not received, not because I'm a better orator or I can fight. It's because I'm just letting you know, Yapasu. I'm saying, but not because I can fight, but it's because the investment I put in the week or the month before allowed me to kill it in the moment. There's been rooms where everybody in the room is highly degreed, highly specialized, and I'm smoking them because of the investments I put in for the last 6 months, right? And even when I'm reading, I'm not reading a book and then going to the next. Sometimes if the book is good enough, it may be read 5, 10, 15, 20 times. Because I'm reading it to a point I can almost remember the next sentence, which gives me ownership of not only the content, but not even the context, but the content as well. Meaning I can literally say it in my own words, almost the way the next chapter would announce it.
Giving away the secrets.
That's compounding. That's a compounding effect. And so a lot of times I'm receiving opportunities because of just that reinvesting. Yet the most popular trend in business is that I will train you so you will arrive, and then I'll set you on your journey and you will fly like an eagle. Bullshit. I call bullshit. That's why a lot of businesses that were created during COVID are going to die. It's going to be painful to watch how we're going to have a great fall off in black businesses in the black community because they initiated us with big investments, with short training, and many of us are going to die because of our historical education. And our historical education is tied to slavery, Jim Crow, and the crack era. Keep going, next slide.
Experience also compounds.
Mm-hmm.
If we choose to build on skills we've developed by using them in new situations, we are significantly more capable later in life.
There you go.
Using compounding as a lens to look at personal experience isn't about proving an equation. Rather, this model can give us insight on what it means to reinvest what we learn through experience.
So real quick too, this is where hustlers die. They're not getting a consistent experience. Although we're solving new problems every day as Fight Media, these experiences are qualifying us for the next big project, right? So, by the way, Vallejo, we may get a phone call from Vallejo to help them rebrand, right? But we're rebranding Emeryville, which Vallejo gave Emeryville a call. It's like, yo, you need to use Fight Media. It's like, well, make sure it gives us their number so we can make that connection, right? But what qualifies us for that, and what qualifies us for Emeryville, was San Francisco, right? So what you'll discover is that you're building on these experiences to a point where you get to a point where you're having opportunities that almost very few people will ever have, but that's compounding. So your experiences, you're learning, you're reading, you gotta take your experiences very, very serious and protect those experiences. You gotta invest. The danger, and this is what I used to talk to Daniel about, the danger of checking boxes is you're losing experiences. Because you're just moving through stuff so fast, you get through. I had people tell me, I had 10 years at this company. You just check boxes. You don't have any value. Or you were a cog on a wheel and you just stamped. No value. But if you took ownership, even stamping, you gain value. That's what your value is not something for me to give to you. The value is something that you take. Just be very clear. No one gives you value. No, you don't value me. No, fuck you. I don't. Don't ask me to do that shit. It's too much. You create value. You don't have to ask me, do I value you if you move in value? But if you don't have a life of value, then you're not valuable. Stop making somebody responsible for your lack of value. Mm-hmm. That's not my responsibility to make you feel valuable. Fuck these social justice people. The ones who don't feel valuable, well, do some valuable shit then. But don't be like, you know what? I feel like you don't see me. You don't value me. I don't see you. No, I don't. I don't want you to look at you right now. It's a stupid ass conversation. If you're valuable, I see you. So you walk the door. Oh my God, I'm glad to see you. Oh my God, is that you come through the door? Oh, I'm so glad you're here. But if you don't do nothing valuable, you walk to the door every day and I'd be like, oh, you was here last week? Oh, my be damn. I didn't even see you. Goddamn. You know, at my job, they don't see me. Well, do something valuable. So valuable is not designed to be outsourced. Other human beings have every reason to value you if you show up in a valuable way. That's it. Look, Oakland, can we talk about diversity the way we did it in Oakland before, this San Francisco shit where they try to do it as like they outsource value? We did value. We did diversity. When I was growing up, we had white kids, Latino kids, Asian kids, gay kids. Gay Mikey was the best dancer in our block. We all went to Mikey for dances. We all hung out with Mikey. Mikey, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? Like Mikey gave us all the game, right? We didn't give a shit about him being gay. He was our partner. We had another partner who did hair. We knew he was gay, but he was hella funny and hella fly. So we going out with you because you get the women look at us, so we all get together, right? We developed this merit-based relationship. You brought value, became valuable to the circle. You don't get to be valuable to the circle because you just happen to be one of the labels. Fuck you if you're not valuable. Even in my company, I hire any motherfucking race that will help me compete with my competition and win. I don't give a shit what race you are, what gender, what age you are, what height you are. But if you're not valuable, you can be fine as fuck. I'm gonna look at you, but I'm gonna fire you. Straight up. Girl, you bad. I wish you was in Atlanta, but you gotta go. All right, let's keep going. I don't give a shit. Come on, man. I'm not that gay for this. All right, keep going.
One of the key components of financial compounding is the reinvestment. When the money you have invested earns interest, you can't take it out and go buy a new pair of shoes.
Nope.
You have.
Oh, go back, slide, go back. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the second paragraph.
Huh?
Second paragraph.
Okay, second paragraph, go ahead.
One of the key components of financial compounding is the reinvestment. When the money you have invested earns interest, you can't take it out and go buy a new pair of shoes. You have to reinvest that interest into the original investment so you can increase the amount of funds earning interest.
That's a hustler. Hustler keeps jumping around doing different shit. They don't stay on the same path, right? Because hustler's just trying to chase the money. They're not trying to chase the growth. If you chase the money, often you'll be victimized by that alone. Like, nothing I do is for money. Yet I don't play with my money. Let me be very clear. I don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I make more money? I tell you what I do wake up and say. I go, how can I impact the black community? I say it every morning. How can I be more of a vessel for my community? What else can I do to change my community? What else can I do to make, to fertilize the ground my daughter will walk on one day? That's how I wake up in the morning. Now, in the meantime, I lock down money and joy. I have so much fun doing what I do, right? And I make a lot of money doing what I do. But at the same token, I will never compromise my people in the name of money. The hustler will. I promise you they will. Because it's not their intent. It's just a natural, it's like they start saying, well, I gotta do it to keep my company strong. And now they're the dope dealer. Next slide.
We can think of using what we've learned in a similar way. The insights we get from experiences will pay off more if we reinvest them into further experiences. Exponential gains for what we've learned aren't standard. Not everyone who has a degree in journalism wins the Pulitzer Prize. Not everyone who has a lemonade stand as a kid ends up running a national juice chain.
I mean, you can also, so it's not just about compounding, it's a lot of strategy in between, but compounding is at the base of what you have to do. You don't get to bypass compounding, but compounding is not a guarantee, right? So you don't get to compound and be lazy, right? Even though financially there has been cases of people who are not good with economics who have compounded resources and in their latter days were successful because they were able to just put money away and not touch it over time and compound it. But in business and in life and relationships, you're gonna have to work those relationships, work those skills, work those talents, and also be very strategical in your approach. Next slide. Because I'm trying to get to a certain part because I really want to play with your brain. Keep going.
Humans have evolved to be pretty good at using past experience to guide future decisions. So, a lot of knowledge compounding humans have evolved to be pretty good at using,
Past experience.
Using past experiences to guide future. I think it just repeated itself. So a lot of knowledge compounding happens naturally over time, especially when we're young.
Keep going.
But sometimes we get stale. We stop reinvesting that interest because we stop challenging ourselves.
So pause real quick. Hip hop, modern day culture fucked us. We devalued the elders who came before us. That was compounding. When you start saying, fuck them, we're going to redo this our own way, or let's just discount all the work that came before us, you're breaking the compounding. The way you evolve as a community, as a race, you have to protect that lineage. That's why you taught, when grandma and mom taught you to respect your elders, they would teach you compounding, you didn't know it. Right? Doesn't mean your elders will always be right. Even their wrongs is something to compound on top of. To say, that doesn't work up to this point. What can we learn from that? Otherwise, you may just adopt their wrongs thinking you're doing something new. So a lot of hip hop has flipped the ratio where you see it all the time where there's this disrespect of those who came before them. OGs. No, that's knowledge that should be your new base. So my daughter's pretty fucking smart to me. I'm impressed with her because I'm her base. So a lot of shit that for me is what she's been introduced to from day one, right? Now, if somehow we break that trend, we reverse that process, and it works in a negative way too. Fucked up grandparents got some fucked up grandchildren because it's compounded. And many of you guys, that's why it's important, that's why compounding by itself without any analysis could be work against you. But trust me, you have to protect health. Why you think people invest in history? And they invest in books and knowledge and materials, right? That's because they realize that no generation stands on their own. They stand on the shoulders of those who came before them. But for some reason, we got this old thing where we tease the old to think that we're bringing something new when we don't realize we're just doomed to repeat the same shit again. Like, I told Court this when we first started teaching. I said, Court, wait till you reach a point when you start to see slavery alive in us today. You'll see that many of our people still have the same request the slave had in the 1800s. Boss, give me an opportunity. Boss, give me reparations. Boss, can you just let me have? Boss, can you invest in me? Boss. Now I realize why you fucking think he got there? We're still making the same request today. We haven't evolved out of that conversation. You still got brothers. Remember last week I said, pay your fucking child support? No. That's a power statement. Y'all thought I was joking, but that was a power statement. You know what that's a power statement? Because the people who understand radical responsibility understand that even though you may not be directly engaged, that's your responsibility. So if you don't own responsibility like that means you don't own building, you don't own creating, you don't own development. Because when you scale, that means when Court gets to 100 employees, he's responsible to the 99th employee, and the 100th employee is his responsibility. If that 99th and 100th employee goes out and sexually harasses a girl, that's his bill. He don't get to say, hey, man, I wasn't there. I don't even like her like that no more. Plus, I feel like I feel like they capitalizing on my money. I don't give a fuck what he got to say. That's your bill. So that means that now his brain has to say, well, since that's my bill, how do I build a system for the people I don't even know? You see now, you're starting to see how civics start being born. Now you're starting to see how generational development starting to be born. People who are in the right mindset of radical responsibility, we're building for generations we don't see. We understand the game we playing. But those of us who are into the selfishness, well, I don't like this. It doesn't make me happy, and this is not what I want to do. And I'm different than everybody else. I'm a creative, and I'm just being me. I'm a gangster. I'm a hood. I don't give a fuck. Y'all see the game? So when I say pay your child support, I'm telling any man that can hear my voice, if you're in this class and you really trying to do this shit, that's your responsibility. I don't give a fuck what you say. She did this. She stole from me. Don't matter. She taking all the money and she's driving a fancy car. Don't matter. Give her more money. Let's go. Let's go. You don't get to make that complaint. I know that shit feels, but see, that's called adulting. Adulting ain't about feeling fair and feeling good. It's what needs to be done. You get where I'm going with this? So compounding, we're disrupting the compounding process because we're not taking radical responsibility. It's cold. Keep going.
We stop compounding our learning. 20 years of living become the same year repeated 20 times.
Okay, do it again. We stopped because I was reading. I was a whole 2 sentences in front of you. Keep going.
Do you want me to just start the paragraph over?
No, just go where we stop compounding. Okay. Here you go.
We stop compounding our.
No, actually go back 2 sentences. Go back to we stop reinvesting. Okay. We stop reinvesting. Start at the beginning of the paragraph. Just start that. But sometimes we get stale. We stop reinvesting that interest because we stop challenging ourselves. Pause. That's the first one. Stop challenging yourself. You don't get to ever stop doing that. So I don't care how much money you make, how good you look, how healthy you are, how many relationships you have, how skilled you are. You stop challenging yourself, beginning of destruction. Keep going. Next one.
We stop compounding our learning.
You start reading. You think you arrived. Now you start telling people, look, I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing. That's one of the dumbest comments I've ever sold. That's been ever sold. I've been doing this for years. What the fuck are you talking about? Keep going.
20 years of living become the same year repeated 20 times.
Say it again. Read that sentence one more time, because I think some people are like they're on Prozac, so they gotta say it a little louder. They didn't hear it. Go ahead. Say it again.
20 years of living become the same year repeated 20 times.
Some of y'all have been around long enough to see that shit. There's so many people in our community that live in the same year for 20 years. Matter of fact, when shit changes, they get mad. Oh, they changing shit. Got new neighbors and shit. New business done closed. School ain't the same. Shit, I remember when I was younger, the shit used to be. And some of us entertain that shit. Yeah, shit is fucked up now. It's just different now. Your life is a 20-year repeat because you make no investments. If you're reinvesting and have focused investment in 20 years, you should have a life you could have never imagined. Yet many of you guys are 20 years of the same person. That's death. That's depression. I just want you to understand, like this death and depression is not a case of the world holding you back or the world's against you or things are fucked up. It's you not changing. You're not challenging yourself. You're not pushing yourself. You're not learning anything different. I can't tell you, hustlers, go back to the hustlers. So Ryan, you're a lifer, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I consider Ryan kind of reminds me of a female version of me. Know a lot of people, very pro-black, very active, powerful woman, very, very powerful woman. If you see on stage, it's a treat, right? A lot of people in Oakland, we tinker. We try to figure shit out through tinkering. We don't want to study shit. We want to just figure it out. Just want to figure it out. I'm going to play with it again. Okay, I'm play with it. Because, I learned from tinkering. That's a trauma of our elementary who fucked us up in education. I had a young man across the street from me. He's a dope dealer. Well, he used to be a dope dealer. He's cleaned up now. Young dude, beautiful dude. One of the kind of brothers that you want to see make it because he's one of those stories. So he's evolving. He's about to be a merchant seaman, take off. Love this shit. Like, this is like my nephew. He said to me, no, I went to junior college and they didn't teach me the subject. They taught me how to learn. And I realized, oh shit, all I needed to learn is how to learn. And he realized this shit's easy. But to this point, up to junior college, when he went through high school, thinking he was undereducated because he didn't know how to learn. You guys going with this? Like, so a lot of this is trauma that we've been passed down, that's been built into the culture, built into the lane, normalized. And so now we're adults trying to run a business and we're tinkering. How in the fuck are you not reading about your business? How in the fuck you're not studying entrepreneurs? How in the fuck you haven't joined a group yet? You're tinkering. That's hustling. I'm gonna hustle my way through this. I'm gonna figure it out. I had a partner. All he did was this, so now I'm gonna just do the same thing. And if I just keep doing that over some time, I'm gonna learn some shit. I should be able to blow this shit up. That's hustling. You can start off with, I got a partner who was doing this. I'm gonna see if I can work for him for a few months, learn his shit. I'm gonna start reading these books, get into this shit. My first 3 years of Fight TV, I was hustling. I went to New York. New York clowned the fuck out of me. I thought I was a dope ass photographer. I came out there with my 40D. Now 40D back then was like a cheap ass camera. But in my brain, I'm thinking, ain't nobody in Oakland got a cheap 40D, so it's a strong ass camera. I get to Milk Studios, #2 studio in the world where all the high fashion is shot. I passed through my camera, so I wanted to get it tethered to a monitor system. He grabs my camera and goes, hey, Joe, you know how to wire this thing? And he goes, I'm sorry, but we don't deal with cameras at this level here. And he goes, by the way, what equipment would you want as we try to figure out how to wire this thing up? Meaning, you got this cheap shit. Let me figure out how to make this cheap shit work with our expensive shit. Then he says, which equipment do you want? And he started asking me, he started calling out all his names and shit. I didn't know none of those names. This white boy started to crush me, but my client wasn't around, thank God. But he crushed me. Like, he just literally told me, he shit on me like, why in the fuck are you here with your dumb ass? He literally could have said that, but because everything he implied was exactly that. So pro-black nun at the time, militant as fuck. First, my emotions were like, this motherfucker, revolution. And then I realized, hold the fuck up. It ain't him, it's me. Because I let him do that to me. Because I walked in this motherfucker not knowing. Do you realize I got home, asked my wife how it was? I'm gonna learn this photography shit like nobody else. You will never be able to talk to me like that again. That was my fault. Some of us went home and gossiped. Yeah, these motherfucking white people don't respect. I'm out here trying to make my money and shit. He knew I was. That's how many of us will talk because I hear it all the time. As opposed to, and hustlers would have been just fandango and not even thought about it at all. But that day told me, Nana, you're hustling. You're not doing business. And at that point, I was like, oh yeah, I'm locking this shit down. And ask anybody, all the partners I was hanging out with, I just went like this. Because I started studying. And when they met me, by the time I started teaching my class, it's because I studied so fucking much. I knew my shit. They'll tell you, I just grab a camera and walk into a room and tell you what the settings was without even looking at my camera. Am I lying?
Yeah.
Cold with it because I practiced so fucking, I would just practice at the house on shit, just practice. Because you're not going to disrespect me again. And that's my fault. So once I realized, oh, a lot of us have been taught to do this hustling game, not this learning game. And if we practice this learning game, college don't own the properties of learning. You own the properties of learning. Don't blame the college. Don't say, oh, I didn't go to this college. I'm sorry, the college just locked down books these days. In my early stages, me and you two was best friends. Then at some point, I started reading books that would give me headaches. I mean, literally, I would read the book, read one page, and I would have my dictionary looking at word at a time, and then write the definition of some of these words, and then go back and read that page so I could really understand what the fuck the author just said to me. Literally, this is how bad it was. And two of those books became easy for me. And all of a sudden, I found myself in different rooms because of my investment in myself. All that outsourcing your value, cut that shit out. I don't want to hear, next time you come to me like, I don't feel like I'm that person. I mean, what the fuck you not doing? Don't, because my husband, my friend, my cousin, my job. No, you. When I started working out and started getting my body back to normal, oh, you can't tell me shit some days. I worked at house, I be like, look at my motherfucking posture. Right? When I was in my chubbiest stage, I'm over there I'm covering up, I got layers on top of layers, you know what I'm saying? Wrap the scarf around my neck, put the sunglasses, extra hat, and put another hat on top of that. I'm about to leave, I'll be back in a minute. That was my investment, because I was lacking investment myself. Now, I'd be like, hey, baby, is this tank top enough? Just let me know I gotta wear. Okay, I put on some clothes, I guess the kids are watching. I'm feeling totally different because I'm invested in myself. That's it, that's the secret. It ain't you, it's me. Once you understand that empowerment, you realize, oh shit, you mean I can become powerful on my own? Yeah, you don't have to go to those special dojo and they tell you, you are powerful. No, you're not. All right, let's go. Let's go next slide.
We still have one more.
Huh?
The right paragraph.
Oh, you finished that paragraph? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Finish the second paragraph. Yeah.
To gain insight and eventually wisdom, we need to reinvest our knowledge and let it compound.
There you go.
One way to do that is to be more deliberate about identifying how our past experiences can improve our chances to success in future ones.
All those jobs you received when you were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, those jobs have value in them. This is why every time you do something, do your best. Every time you put your hand on something, own it, because you get the benefit. You don't get it right away, But if somebody says, hey, can you help me cut grass? You're like, yo, well, shit, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna really do this shit. But then one day, it's gonna come down to that there's some principles you learn in cutting that grass. It's gonna make you money on the back end. If you move through life just checking boxes, you'll end up one day and you living that 20-year-old life over and over again because you were just looking at everything as a task, a means to an end. A means to an end will fucking destroy your value.
Goes back to compounding. The compounding effects of how you do anything also bleeds over into everything. So even if you take the time to cut that grass a certain way, that's going to affect how you even put your rep up when you're working out. And you be like, average person, how come I'm not getting no gains? Because you quitting and you're not doing the reps properly. But if you cut the grass properly, then your mindset's going to bleed over to do the reps properly in the gym. It's crazy.
And then my wife gave me the greatest compliment ever. She said, what makes you amazing to me? I said, what's that? She goes, you do what you say. You're consistent as fuck. And I was like, damn, that's a dope ass compliment. Every time I put my hands on something, I take ownership. Even when I'm buying shit, she'd be like, yeah, I know what you're gonna do. You can go in that room and research it and then make a decision. Yeah. That's just how I move. If I feel this sense of fear, discomfort, or like a certain uncertainty, if I just feel it could be subtle. I'm like, something's there. I'm gonna take ownership by figuring out what that is and see where I'm missing so I'm not victimized by me not taking ownership, not by the other person. See, if we're playing competition, you're supposed to score. You're not supposed to say, hey man, you didn't sleep well last night? I'm gonna play a little lighter today. No, you get in the championship, fuck you should got your rest, right? That's my responsibility. I don't take it personal if you crush me because I didn't invest in myself. I don't go home and go, man, he was playing fair and I want to talk about the referees, how they could have did things differently. And I feel like people don't recognize me in the NBA and I feel like the pay scale I'm on is all kind of fucked up. No, I need to practice. I need to perform different. I need to learn different techniques. I need to take it a little bit more serious. Maybe when everybody went home, maybe it wasn't time for me to go home yet. Sorry. That's it. And when you keep skipping those things because you're trying to, okay, how can I say this? So many of you guys are so busy trying to make other people happy, you're depressed. You can't. At some point, you're going to have to make that self-investment. That's where your happiness comes from. It's not keeping everybody else pleased. You're unpleased. The way you become pleased with your life is by saying, like, you got to carve that time out and not play with that time. Can't, okay, I'm going to work out on Thursday. And it's like, cling, hey, man, on Thursday, we doing this. Okay, hey, man, I can't make it on Thursday. I'll be there on Friday. No. Treat it like a fucking doctor's appointment. When I go to the gym, it's my doctor's appointment. When I'm reading, it's my doctor's appointment. My own family knows, oh, you're reading? Even my daughter at 6, Dad, you reading? See you. I train everybody in the world, my clients. If Nana's here, leave him the fuck alone. Because my strength comes from my self-investment. Once I start compromising my self-investment, then I'm going to be this depressed ass, weak ass man sitting in front of you talking about, yeah, I'm really mad about what you said to me the other day, Kaja. And I feel like when you looked at me and something, I'm going to do what I'm thinking because my meaning making machine says what you was really thinking is you was hating on me and shit. So you know what? I don't even want to fuck with you. I'm just going to just leave this relationship alone. With your weak ass. I talked to a man one day and he told me about, the reason they didn't fuck with me is because what they was thinking. I said, did you please stop here? Please stop right here. Did you just start becoming a meaning-making machine and tell me what they was thinking? Oh my God, if you had that much intelligence and you broke, explain to me how this works. Sorry. If you can read people's minds and you broke, if you can read people's minds, nobody should be broke. You know exactly what they want. Oh, you was thinking about this? I already knew that, huh? And matter of fact, you see how insightful I am? That's a value. That's a hell of a value. All right, next slide.
Relationship. To gain insight and,
this is so important.
and eventually wisdom, we need to reinvest our knowledge and let it compound. One way to do that is to be more deliberate about identifying how our past experience...
I think this is off. Go next slide.
Okay.
Okay, she missed... Wait a minute, I think she missed her... Hold on a second. I'm going to have to pull that shit... Okay, I'm going to just tell you what the fuck it's going to say. This is important. That she somehow was a... error, and I love my girl, so we're not throwing her underneath the bus. We're gonna just tell her It's her what?
It's her birthday.
I heard that. Then I can't get, you know what? Thank you for getting this far. Okay, see? Context matters everywhere. Because, you fuck around my birthday, you be like, nah, really? A? That's all you gonna give me this word, A? A! Let me say this real quick. Relationship, this is important. This is so fucking important. I'm about to tell you guys. I'm gonna give you guys a rule. Give more than you take. Wake up every morning with everybody in your life, give more than you take. If you want to compound relationships, it's about your giving game more than you take. Meaning when you show up, what can I give? You want to take as a rarity and give as much as fucking possible. And I promise you the richness of your relationships will stop you from ever hitting the fucking ground. Right now, you can lose your business and your relationship be like, yo, come on over here. I got you. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to tell this other person they can have your back. They will extend their relationship's currency to you. Give more than you can take. Also, cut out this motherfucking white lie game. Yo, y'all be there tomorrow. You don't show up. Yo, I'm going to call you tomorrow. Don't show up. You don't be on top of this shit. And I don't give a fuck what you're calling. It may be you don't have no control of your schedule. You don't want to say no yet. You say yes too often. And you know, to the point that you got too much on your schedule, so you kind of don't look that good to the people that you're showing up to. You got to know how to not tell white lies. And if you have to change something, you need to call people way in advance. I can't begin to tell you in Oakland, we are the kings of, yeah. You have no trust. Trust comes from you show up, you perform, you deliver, you hit higher than expectations. You give more than you take. It's such a disease in our community. You can't afford to lose trust. You can't afford to stop speaking on shit you don't understand. Stop giving advice because you just want to feel important. There's so many little small things. Pay attention to all this small shit we're doing that's poisoning our personal value and trust in the community. If I call myself a boss and y'all know I'm about to jump in this Datsun B210 and drive to my mama's house, shut the fuck up on that bullshit. Be the humble person that's just seeking growth. Like, stop the white lies. I can't begin to look. When you get to the point where you're touching a lot of money and you have access to refer a lot of money, would you refer a lot of money to somebody who you just never been able to trust personally? If somebody asks you to come help them move and you say yes, I don't give a fuck if you have COVID. Show up there with a mask on until they tell you to go sit the fuck down. Like literally, stick to your fucking word. Mean what you say and say what you mean or don't say it at all. And be careful with all this. Be careful when you don't feel like you're good enough because you're not investing in yourself, that you're now saying yes to everybody when you should be saying more no's so you can be consistent in your life. I'm giving y'all some real shit that I promise you this shit translates into like people calling you, people having conversations behind your back and sending money your way because of the way you move. Don't think for 5 seconds you can move the way you fucking want to move like you're a 5-year-old ain't gonna get the adult benefits. Being an adult means there's restrictions to the game. And if people can't trust you, or here's the other thing, be careful of the press secretary that convinces you that you have knowledge and you have no knowledge. So you over here talking about, let's say, for example, let's say Shakira was training, but she came in there and she's just quoting all these pop ideas of what she heard from other peers. But you sitting there looking at her like, this motherfucker don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Now somebody comes to the city like, hey, I want to invest in a gym to help them expand and grow. You're not calling her. You're not going to even refer her. You're not even fucking with her like that. Because she's been so busy hustling and bullshitting you, she lost trust. Watch how you talk about other people in front of people. I remember this a long time ago, this one dude, I was hanging out with him, this Latino dude, he's like, yeah, man, last night I got drunk and got in an accident and I jumped out the car and ran home. And police came to my house and told me my car was stolen. I started talking to him that day. Dude, I don't trust you. You have no integrity. Men, players, shut that shit down. I'm not saying if you gonna mess, I'm being honest, let's be transparent. If you gonna mess around, it ain't a bragging point. Shut your fucking mouth. Because when you bragging like that, oh yeah, my girl at the house. I got this little side chick over here. I'm doing my. That's how y'all know when men talk like that. Young men. This is mostly young men. Older men, y'all be don't two women talking to me too much. But young men, right? Young men, right? Shut the fuck up. Because what you're doing is you're displaying lack of trust. You know, I went to the store and I fandangled some stuff. Shut the fuck up. Learn how to move differently, because at the end of the day, you have to protect your trust and your relationships, and over time, it will compound. I never, when I was younger, I was in my 30s, there was a girl, man, had a body that would make this room almost go silent to me. And I never forget, I met her at the lake. Man, we was hanging out. I had my little convertible. We went to the store. I'm like, okay, yeah, girl, it's going to be all right in my life. And we in a produce section, and she screamed, no, you want these or you want the other ones? Last day. My brand, can't fuck with my brand like that. My brand is everything. How I show up, how I show up when I walk out my house, I show up a certain way all the time. I'm sorry, it's called leadership. People not in leadership, he talked about this earlier. People not in leadership, you can do what the fuck. You can walk out your house and wear some rainbow shorts with your ass hanging out. Hey, do you? But for those who are leaders, we move differently. We talk differently. We don't get in certain arguments. I'm not cussing nobody out. I'm not being public. Look here, you motherfucker. How you gonna just pump my gas and let the gas up? No, I'm not doing none of that shit. Man, you let gas in my car? Okay, I guess. Hey, okay, all right, cool. I get it fixed. Hey, I just suggest maybe you don't want to do that in the future. Hey, man, look, I'm gonna get up out of here. You too low frequency to be losing my money over. I don't engage in certain behavior. I'm probably more moral than most of your ministers. Why? Because my value, my brand is valuable. How I show up. Do you realize how, even when I started doing photography, I had a rule. Kenny, what's my rule in photography? I had one big rule. I taught everybody. You remember the rule? Go ahead. Don't sleep with the models. Oh, trust me. It wasn't always a desire, but it was a rule. And guess who didn't break that motherfucking rule? I had one woman chase me around my studio the whole motherfucking night. Nope, ma'am, nope. Just pay me my money, ma'am. I know they told me, you must be gay. Because this body, there ain't a man in my life that don't look at this kind of body and not respond and say, no, you're a client. I don't give a shit about that. These rules are designed, look, you could just say, well, you could have slept with a couple of them. No, come on, just a couple. You know, you single, you could have just a couple. I was compounding. And compounding said, I can't go buy some new shoes with that money that I've been saving. Can't do that. There's billions of women in the world. Why I gotta choose her? I made that separation. I never see me drink alcohol. You know, I see me drink alcohol. Except when I'm sick. When I'm sick, I get that little spoon and. Right? But have you ever seen me drunk? You ever seen me high? Ever seen me disrespect women in public? No, I don't disrespect women anyway, because I'm a mama's boy. Ever? Why did I do that? Doesn't mean that before I was a business owner, I didn't have some of those problems. But when I started becoming a leader, you don't get that. And by the way, if you become an entrepreneur, you are a leader. You're not an everyday person that happens to be running a business. You're a fucking leader. There's people coming to me every day saying, no, I've been watching you for 10, 15, 5, 3 years. What? I didn't see that. So I'm teaching when I'm not teaching by the way I show up. And so even when I was, look, this is how cold it was. I'm going to share one personal thing real quick, then we'll get out of here. I'm gonna do one little trick. Even when I was in the streets, and I was just when I was in my 20s, I really liked a lot of women. But I was also pro-black. And I realized I couldn't hurt women. Because if you hurt women and you're pro-black, you're shitting in a garden you're trying to produce. So what I would do is I'd tell women this. I say, listen, I'm no good. Do not mess with me if you want a relationship. I'm absolutely no good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not in love, not at all, not even 2%. Now, if you come over my house and those street lights come on, I'm gonna become a vampire. I just want to let you know, right?
I'm dead.
I just because you know what I couldn't stand to see is a man tell a woman they love her, and then he breaks that story to a woman. It can destroy a woman. I refuse to participate in those silly games, right? Here's a little trick. Hey, can that camera reach me on this board? Can the camera reach me? See if you can reach that board with the camera. Yeah, the whiteboard. You can't? How about this whiteboard? Like, in terms of the other camera, the little rotating camera. The PTZ. Can the PTZ move around? You don't have to zoom. Just catch me on the board, man. You don't. I don't want to see the back of my skin or some shit. Just over here. Can you see the board? What you asking, bro? Yeah, you can see the board. Okay, good. That's all I wanted. Somebody give me a pen. Damn, give me a pen. Give me a microphone too. Give me the microphone. Come on, the microphone. All right, next week. Next week we're gonna talk about sampling. We don't have time today, so we'll probably talk about death tax real fast. What's the next slide? On conclusion. Okay, sampling. Before we do next week, I want to prime you guys real quick. Now, all the veteran students, don't answer this question. Broke. Okay. So this is 1 billion, right? This is 0. Where does a million start? Where does a million sit on that timeline? Where? Huh? 3/4 of the way. Okay. Ryan said 3/4 of the way. Anybody else? 3/4 of the way. 3/4 of the way would be right here. Okay. All right, where? Okay, this is broke. This is $1 billion. Where does $1 million sit?
Where does it sit or start?
Where does $1 million sit on this timeline?
By the K.
Huh?
By the K.
By the K? Okay. Okay. Who else? Anybody else? Before this is important because this is going to change everything.
I think it depends on the person's journey.
You say, boy, if you, I hate you so much right now. No, okay. All right, here's, okay. This is where 1 million sits. Can't see it. On that line. You know what I mean? You know what a million is? It's 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 millions. So make 1,000 lines. 1 million, you can't see it on this little smallest line. Why is that important? No, we're gonna get into sampling a little bit next week. 1 million is not recognizable on that line at all. Why is that important? There's 8 billion people on this earth. There's 7.5 million people in the Bay Area. There's 8 billion, that's 8,000 million people. Do you guys know that you guys are going on the internet every day and you guys are hearing large numbers and those numbers don't mean anything? If I told you 500 million people, if I said 5 million people did something in the world of 8 billion people, that's like, if that's like me coming in your house, if you had $100 and you had $100 in pennies, and I took 5 of them, you'd be like, why'd you even call me about that, bro? This is important because as we get into like how to see the market and how to think, even when you're on social media, right? Think about this. If you're on social media right now and you got 100,000 pings that you are trash, your product is trash, you suck. I don't even know why you're selling that shit. Do you realize that's not even 1% of the market? That in the Bay Area, even though there's only 400,000 people in Oakland, Bay Area is 7.5 million. How many people you think you need to run a successful business?
200.
Let's do around 100 to 200 people. Do you realize how few people you actually need in the world to be rich? Go ahead.
So where my brain goes with that is, let's say you do have 100,000 people that are saying your product is trash. My brain splits into 2 separate parts, right? So it goes into the, I can hear the person saying, "Oh, they're not my customer," right? Or some story they're telling themselves where they don't have to acknowledge that feedback. And then my brain also goes on to the opposite side of the spectrum that says, "But what about that is true? Am I not capitalizing on opportunities to change my product, to bring them in, to expand my market?" So I'm having like a dual.
Well, here's a strategy. Good. That's a good analysis, by the way, Shakina. Here's the strategy here. You got to know your market. Because if you're talking to the wrong market, you're trash. It could be 10 million people saying, "We would never buy your." Okay, so when Apple blew the company up. When the company got to the point it was a multi-billion-dollar company, guess how many customers they had? They was talking. Guess how many customers they were speaking to in the world when they blew the company up?
Something like 1.3 million.
No, 1 million exactly.
Yeah.
That means in the United States, there's 350 million people in the United States. That means that 349 million people, I'm not even talking to y'all. I'm talking to that 1 million. This is where we're going to get into sample size. Once you understand the number game, by the way, all these lessons I've been teaching for the last 3 months has been mathematics. I've just been using mathematics and just trying to teach you the principle as opposed to trying to show you the equations. But there's equations for almost everything from emergence to inertia. These are all equations, right? This is all mathematics. Even compounding, that's definitely mathematics, right? But if you don't see numbers correctly, and the $1 billion example I gave you guys, that's common. That's very, very common. That's why, okay, for example, I can tell you, last year, 5 million children died in the world. That's bad, right? Not until you find out that 2-3 years ago it was 20 million. There's a lot of times media is throwing these big numbers at you, and you can't process them correctly because you don't have context around numbers, or you can't even see numbers, or you think you don't have opportunities because, look, that means there's 40, what's the percentage? Somebody Google, what's the percentage of how many black people are there in the United States? Is it 40-something million or 14 million? I can't remember. We're 14%, so 40-something million.
40-something million.
40-something, how is it? How many African Americans in the United States? How many? 41 million. So say 41 million roughly. Okay, so if you got less than 2% to 1% of black people to fuck with you, you rich as fuck. I want you guys to see how your brain doesn't see math, it sees stories. A lot of you guys have access to so much. The Bay Area alone, if you have 1% of the Bay Area to say they fuck, 99% Bay Area say we don't even fuck with you. 1% say they fuck with you, you rich as fuck. If you get 10%, you got more money than you could ever dream of. You got generational money. You got fuck you money. You want to do this? Fuck you. Okay. We're playing this game because in our minds, we focusing on limits and we have the wrong math in our brain. But when you realize how many, so when somebody says they filled the whole Coliseum, that's still nothing. When the media goes, everybody's doing this, and you go, well, what's the number? Oh, it's like 600,000 people believe this. That's why entrepreneurs don't get moved by news stories. The numbers are off. It's even worse today. Now this one boy got killed last week. One. And we're literally making decisions. Kids don't go outside. One kid got killed last week. How many kids didn't get killed last week? 6.2 million people in this area. One though? And now we're making these decisions? This is the beginning of bureaucracy, by the way. That's how bureaucracy starts, right? You know that, right? It's the scary, fearful people responding to low numbers. And they build policy, and the policies compound, and before you know it, the whole business is frozen because now you build a bureaucracy on fear because you can't see numbers. Or you miss opportunities because you take the feedback from a non-chosen market, or you look at a trend, going back to Kaja, where everybody's doing this, and in my brain I was thinking there's no such thing as everybody. What the fuck you mean everybody? Even let's say the biggest YouTuber you know of, how many followers? But let's say, give me a rough number. You just guess. Just guesstimate. 500,000. She was talking as if she had a narrow path. You heard by her own admission. They already got this path locked up. 500,000. There's 350 million. That's 41.5 million black people alone. What the fuck are you talking about? You see what I'm talking about? But if you don't know your numbers, it feels, because what you're doing is you're hearing stories, you're not seeing the numbers. Once, my father told me this, my father was a dope dealer, right? No praise to that. He was a distributor. He was actually a hitman for the Black Panthers. Then he broke away from that and he was selling dope because Black Panthers was selling underground dope. Long story. So my father he never got busted by the police. In 25 years of selling dope, he ended up dying because he hit his pipe a couple of times himself. Bronchitis, Gotti, right? But my father, up to that point, took me to go see Scarface as a little kid. He breaks down the game. He goes, two things. He goes, one, think about if you want to do this, I taught you everything, but you'll never be able to go outdoors again. Because he goes, I live behind closed doors. He said, other thing too, always think to numbers. Always use math. Never look at things through stories and words. Do you know how many years it took me to figure that shit out? I said, what the fuck are you talking about? 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know if I'm gonna use that. Because I was a kid, right? As I got older, I realized we can't see numbers. Oh, she don't like me. There's 8 billion people in the world. Who gives a fuck? They're not going to approve of you. Who not going to approve of me? Once you play this number game, you realize a lot of us are caught up in false numbers with false beliefs and false stories and bad strategies. Once you see the number game, look, okay. Some of us won't share business ideas because you think you're going to take my customers. Now I realize how many customers there are. Man, I tell you, there's a guy if I said his name, but I'm not. He was my competition, but he's smaller than me. And he thought he was my competition, right? But he didn't have the same rhythm. So we looked the same, and then all of a sudden I did this because of compounding, right? I take off. I go to him and say, look, man, I just mentor you? Because I need some competition up here. Competition is good for me. It's good. It's going to make me better, right? Because I can need to manufacture my own friction. My friction will make me accelerate my growth. So please be my friction. I said, plus, guess what? We probably never see each other. Because there's so many customers, we'll need about 100 of us to be competitive. Some of y'all won't go to markets. They already got that sold up. They got that portion sold up. Once you guys learn to see this number game, you're going to realize y'all are tripping on shit that don't even matter. Also, you're going to understand why America has to be white supremacy. It's 77% white. When in the 60s, guess what the percentage was? 95% white. 95% white. Martin Luther King was marching in a world that was 95% white. Once you see numbers, all the context starts to move around. You start to say, oh, okay, I got to reanalyze this now. Like, start looking at the number. Like, whatever you think about in history, look, Egypt. Guess how many people was in Egypt? In the Great Egypt. It was smaller. It was the same size as Oakland. It was 400,000 people. I think it was even, no, somebody looked at, I think it was maybe even smaller than that. But Egypt population was pretty fucking small. But when we talk about it, we talk about like it was a whole continent of people and millions of people were just moving around. It was a small ass place. When I was born, the world was 2 billion people. Guess how many people on the earth now? 8. That's 6 billion people grew in my fucking lifetime. And you still talking about the limitations of the 60s? Do you realize how silly you sound based upon math? It doesn't make any sense. And yet this is the most common shit we are circling around is non-mathematical equations that's based upon traumatic mental limitations. Traumatic mental trauma, meaning that there's a lot of trauma our ancestors passed down from some fucked up shit when the numbers were different. The numbers are different now. They're hella different. Do you realize that in the 90s, before the 90s, if you decided to sell apples and I was white and you was black, there was a middleman that said, oh, you get it for this price and he get it for that price? You know the internet killed that person off, right? Court shops, he directly goes to China. China, hey, what's up, people? Courtney Smith in the house. Let's get down. Mm-hmm. That was not available in the 60s like that. Y'all missing these conversations. Like, once y'all start seeing these numbers, y'all start realizing, oh, you got action. Once you see Africa's numbers and the Ghana numbers been growing really at a rapid rate, you better get African again. You better get African. If you want to get some of this international money, get African again. I know you've been thinking you American, African-American, whatever, BIPOC or whatever the fuck y'all call yourselves. You may become African again because there's money over there. You tripping. Once y'all start seeing how this game is working, you're going to realize the only thing holding you back is the lack of self-investment. With that being said, question of the day. Question for y'all to go home. Write this question down. Question to put in your own mind. This is something that's gonna fuck with your day. It's not meant to be answered. It's meant to crack your mind open. What belief would change if you were born in a different generation or you were born somewhere else? I need to process that through the week. Which one of your beliefs would change if you was born in a different generation or born somewhere else? Shout out to James Earl Jones and shout out to my motherfucking Frankie Beverly. With that being said, have a good night.